Right, welcome to session 3 of our Dungeon World game. Session 3 is titled The Road to Pondmount. In the last session, our heroes discovered that the source of this strange plague or strange sickness may have originated in the nearby town of Pondmount and been brought to the Keep of Gallonmeet, perhaps with some of the recruits that they got from the town. And the strange infection had started to work its corruption on the crops, the bread, the food, etc. at Gallonmeet. They also spoke to the apothecary of Gallonmeet would be the best way of describing him. And he'd passed through Pondmount a couple of weeks previously and said that Pondmount had been having trouble with its crops. This is what led them to the assumption that the plague might have transferred from there. So our heroes decided to investigate and travel to Pondmount, which is about 6 days to the southwest of their current location of Gallonmeet. And we left off with them just preparing to set out for the town in the hope that someone there in a position of authority will be willing to pay handsomely for anyone who could resolve this problem for them. So I'm going to ask each of our players, we're unfortunately down a couple of players tonight, but I'm going to ask each of our 3 players we do have to introduce themselves and say a little bit about their character and what their character's thoughts are on what's currently going on. So we'll start off with Dennis.
I'm playing Milo Thistle, a halfling druid who comes from the Great Black Forest and doesn't know much about the human ways of life. So he is constantly puzzled by the actions and things going on with his newfound human compatriots.
Yeah, two-way street, buddy.
He is he's glad they're moving out, that they solved the so-called big coin mystery.
Indeed,
Not
Milo
mystery.
does seem to have a knack for sort of being able to acquire coin despite not really understanding it.
Yeah, but he understands it was important for his friends, so now that that's solved, he's happy that he can move on and solve the sickness of the land. He's a bit concerned, both with Durkin telling him that it comes from man and the Great Spirit telling him that his ancestors had something to do with it.
Okay, thank you very much. So next we'll go on to Rob.
All right, I'm playing a barbarian, Glarg the Impatient. He comes from a northern clime. He's basically here, his overall goal is to try to do big battle things or things worthy of glory or story to be told about. This is how you gain position and fame, if you will, a power, I don't know, within his tribe. Position within his tribe is by kind of outdoing the other guy in the things you've accomplished. So he feels he's doing okay on that path. He's got a nice scar from where he was punctured by a big bull creature, so that's boastworthy, and that's probably a start. One scar might lead to many more if he's lucky. So yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. And next we move on to Jason.
Hello. So I'm playing Dirkir Hammerfall, who is a dwarven cleric, loosely put into terms. He worships a god called Kavrash, who's very much into trial by combat, bloody conquest, and so on and so forth, which is not something that one of the other characters who is not here tonight is particularly fond of. But nevertheless, he's been set out by his family, the rest of his tribe, in order to complete his final task, in order to hopefully convert a few people, learn more about the world that he did not grow up in.
Okay, thank you very much. So we begin this session with you guys still in Gallonmeet, just about ready to set out. You've gathered your provisions, etc., from the Orc's Head Inn, being given them free on the orders of the Lord of Gallonmeet, something the tavern keeper of the Orc's Head wasn't terribly happy about, but he didn't really have much choice, so you've got your provisions, and you start the journey southwest. It's a journey of about 6 days towards the town of Pondmount. Are there any particular preparations you guys want to make before you set off?
Do we have mounts, or are we a walking troop?
At the moment, you're walking. However, you have all recently gained between you 50 coins, so there's nothing to stop you purchasing mounts if you wish.
Well, I imagine we're going to need... how many of us are in total are going, aside from us 3?
Well, you do have your 2 fellows with you, although, like I say, I've sort of faded them into the background, so you don't have to worry about getting mounts or provisions for them.
Okay.
You also have Dowdrika, who is your follower, who obviously counts as another party member, in terms of, like, if you're all going to be mounted, she'll need a mount, or she'll need to, like, share a mount with somebody else, and also will need rations, etc. So, all in all, there are 6 of you, but only really 4 you need to worry about at the moment.
All right, so I would just be happy seeing just some sort of pack mule then. The food and water and bedrolls and cooking pans and everything else for 6 people, like all the camping equipment for 6 people. That's a lot of gear.
Okay, well, for 50 coins, you could buy a cart and a mule to pull said cart.
Traveling in style.
Don't get me wrong, we're not talking about a posh carriage. We're talking about like a standard sort of wooden cart with a mule pulling it.
Yeah, I know. The glory of being...
I don't care what it looks like as long as it's functional and fast.
It's an ass rickshaw.
Yeah.
We need a strong cart horse.
Yeah, I'll put in 20 coins toward it. Do you say 50 each or 50 in total?
50 in total. I mean, it's got a cart with it, so you could all ride on the cart.
Yeah, no, I meant how much do we have? Did you meant we have?
Well, you certainly have 50 because Milo was given a pouch of 50 coins.
Okay. Well, yeah, I think it's worth it. We definitely need it. So.
Okay, that's not a problem. So, if you guys are happy with that, I can't remember who exactly ended up with the coins. It might have been your roguish.
Rufus.
Yeah, it's Rufus. But
Rufus,
if you're spending that 50 coins on a mule and a cart, that's fine. I've no problems with that. Okay, so you make this trade. It's a fairly equitable trade, and you're rewarded with this slightly stubborn but fairly sort of hard-working mule. It's fastened up to this wooden cart. It has a small sort of plate on the front of it where someone can sit on and sort of control the mule while they're driving the cart. It's not a covered cart or anything like that. However, there is ample room for you guys and your supplies to sit in the back, although you probably sat on either the floor or maybe a couple of crates that you've chucked in there. It's not exactly a sort of all expenses option, but it does the job.
Yeah, no, I don't mind walking. Just all this 6 people's worth of gear, might as well.
Well, that's it. I mean,
that's all I wanted for.
It's good. It would take you 6 days approximately to make the journey on foot. However, since you're travelling mounted effectively, you would halve that, so it would really only take you 3 days to get there. Because you'd be travelling a lot faster because you're not all walking along laden down with your goods. You just bung them in the cart, jump on, whoosh, off you
Perfect.
Go. Lovely jubbly.
Perfect. Okay. So, forested countryside? What's it look like?
It's mostly grasslands hereabout. As you're heading southwest from Galameet, and I'll draw a little arrow on the map so you can see that. As you're heading southwest, to the left and right of you, so to the north and the south, there are rolling, blanketed hills which behind you and around Galameet rise up to form the World Spine Mountains. This huge mountain range that rises up, almost seeming to touch the clouds itself. And at the top, you can just see a dusting of snow on top of these mountains, and you know that on the other side of them lies the brutal and barbaric Orklands, as they're called, although no one's really been to the Orklands and come back, so the geography of that area is not really known about. And you know that behind Galameet is the 8-day expanse of the Orc's Blood Pass, which is the one sure way to cut through the mountains, which, if rumours are to be believed, is filled with savage ogres, giants, and all other manner of nasties which prevent people just having a jaunt across the mountain range. Not to mention that the natural terrain is fairly inhospitable as well. But you guys are heading in the opposite direction, so as you leave these hills behind, the mountain ranges behind you, I'm just going to ask, which of you guys is driving, by the way?
I consider I'd probably be walking, like in the lead if you want. I don't even have a problem with that.
I could drive. I suppose it's a bit windier up there, so I'm fine with that.
Okay, no problem. Unless there's any compelling reason not to, your dwarven friend Dowdraker will be sort of walking alongside yourself, Glog. She's obviously a little shorter of limb than you, and she's almost having to do like a jog to keep up with you, just sort of striding along. But as is often the case with dwarves, she doesn't make any complaints. She's quite sort of stoic in that way, and sort of keeps up this jog next to you.
Yeah, probably had a lifetime of living like that too.
Indeed, you can see that her armour that she's wearing, a chain, etc. You can hear it like clanking as she's jogging along next to you. She's not exactly quiet while she's jogging, but you're heading across open countryside. There's a few shallow hills as you head southwest, but nothing unusual. After
are we on a road or a path, or are we just breaking trail?
You're just breaking a trail. As you're on the first day passes fairly uneventfully. Now, at the end of the first day, you've effectively done 2 days travel, the benefits of riding in a cart. You're all starting to get a little bit tired as night comes in, because you've been pretty much like riding all day, only with like the odd stop off, to rest the mule, give it some water, etc. You've been riding all day, you're all starting to get fairly tired. What do you guys want to do?
Okay, so about an hour before I think it would be good to make camp, I'm going to use my knowledge of reading the land to look for a suitable camp spot, some sort of, hill that could give us some lee from the wind, that kind of thing.
Okay, not a problem. So can you please make me maybe an intelligence roll?
+0, here goes.
Although I would say you could make an argument for using wisdom if you preferred that.
Same thing. So 9. All right. Hey, straight up 9.
Okay, yeah, not a problem. You managed to find a reasonably sheltered spot. It's in between a couple of these shallow rolling hills. There's not really a great deal of cover around here, but it's like the best you're going to get, really. And you start to settle down. Now, I would like to ask you, Glog, you said that your people don't really sort of live in cities in Snow Crest.
Correct.
So presumably, how do your people live? Do they camp? What would be the traditional setup for your people?
So it's nomadic. Mm-hmm. So we kind of travel where the game is. So if like there's a whole bunch of caribou and things like that around, then that's where we're going to be. And as the caribou move as part of their natural cycle, as it goes through the seasons, we just sort of follow the food trail, right? We're not very agricultural.
And what sort of temporary like domiciles do you use to live in? Do you use like hide tents or something like that?
Yep. It's hides, furs, using the land where we can for like lean-tos, even caves, if it's suitable.
Okay, that's great. You can mark yourself an XP for that, since you've told me something about
Thanks.
your homeland. Okay. Okay, so as you guys are settling in for the night, I'm going to say that because of Glog's roll that he's just made, you guys don't have to expend any rations for this first day, because Glog, whilst he's been looking about, as he's said, his people are used to following food trails and looking for game. He's managed to catch and find some like rabbits. It's not the large game that you're used to, Glog, but obviously you're not in your home territory here, but you managed to catch some small game that you can cook over your campfire, so preserving your dried rations when you really need them.
Okay, so when I come back, maybe I've got like a half a dozen of these hares with me, and I'll look at the rest of the group, like seeing like where's what you guys got. I suppose I could share. I dumped them all like near the fire, or maybe hang them near the fire, but I expect someone else to cook them.
Yeah,
I don't even ask. I just assume.
As you dump them down, the dwarven woman Dowdrika, who's been accompanying you along with sort of following Glog, says, I know a little bit about skinning and cooking. Do you want me to? And she sort of points at the fire and the rabbits.
Yes. Good.
She takes out a small dagger from her belt and she starts skinning these rabbits, cutting a few twigs ready to put them over the fire and cook them. Now, as you guys are settling into rest, I presume you're keeping watches, etc., the standard sort of stuff. I'm going to ask, what sort of order of watch are you guys going to go in? Obviously, you've got Dowdrika as well, who will quite happily take watch.
I would pipe up and say, well, I've been driving all day, so I need some sleep first. Then I'll take watch.
Yeah, I shrug. Fine with me. I'm not ready for sleep yet.
Okay, so we've got Glog first. Then
Milo can take the next.
You're going to take what? Sorry, Milo?
Yeah, Milo can take the next watch.
Okay. Then we've got Dirk here, and following that we'll have Dowdrika, who'll take the last watch.
Well, surely Rufus could at least take a watch if he's with us.
Yeah, he will actually take a watch. Obviously, just like not much is going to happen, if anything, during his watch, because he's sort of fading into the background. But basically, anything you guys do, assume that like your two fellows are sort of pitching in and helping out. Okay.
Yeah, I was just thinking this. So spread out the time not sleeping.
Indeed. Okay, so I'm going to ask Jay, can you please roll me 2d6? There's no modifier, and let me know what you get.
Okay. 4.
Okay, you can all, those of you who are present, mark yourself an XP.
Ew.
Okay. Why does that make me trepidatious?
Okay, so Jay, can you please, to represent your watch, can you please roll plus wisdom?
Okay. I am rolling so terribly this campaign. I got a 1 on the die, so 2.
Okay, so you get to mark yourself another XP.
Fantastic.
Okay, as you're on watch, you're near a sort of scrubby outcropping of like underbrush near these gently rolling hills that Glog has found as a bit of shelter. You are taken quite by surprise when the bushes around you suddenly, with a slight rustling, part, and you see 6 men holding crossbows emerge out of these bushes with these crossbows levelled at you. There's a man wearing patchwork leather clothing, a sword in his hand, appears to be sort of stood at the head of these men. One of them steps forward with his crossbow and says, "Don't make a sound."
Okay, how close am I to the rest of my companions?
I'm imagining you're all sleeping around you're within vocal range. You could make it in like a move to get back to them. They're obviously, you wouldn't have gone too far from them, because otherwise it makes it difficult to raise the alarm.
Okay. I think I'm going to try and cast a spell, if I may.
Of course.
Right, so I would like to cast Cause Fear on the guy who just told me to not make a sound.
Okay, make your roll as appropriate and let me know what the effects are.
Okay. Okay, so when it says roll plus wisdom, I'm assuming it means my full wisdom score rather than...
No, it's the modifier.
Oh, it is the modifier. Actually, yeah, that's a fair point. Okay, so I got a 5.
Okay, what does it say on your sheet?
It says on 10 plus the on a 10 plus the spell is successfully cast.
Yep.
On a 7 to 9, the spell is cast, but you choose one of the following. So So it's failed.
Okay, so however, you do get to mark an XP for that.
Mm-hmm.
Since you failed that roll. What actually happens is as you cast this fear spell, you do see the leader of it sort of starts back a bit, and you see his men actually sort of, as they see you waving your arms around, they literally raise their crossbows and sort of like, whereas they've all been sort of like surveying the scene, there's just one of them pointing the crossbow at you. As soon as you start waving your hands around and mumbling like magic syllables, they're all like and pointing these crossbows at you, as they've obviously realised you're attempting to cast some sort of spell. Their leader holds up his hand and he says, I'd advise you not to if you value your life. Who are you anyway? What are you doing in this area?
I should ask you the same thing. I'm just a dwarf passing through.
You see the guy who was originally pointing the crossbow leans into his leader and he says, yeah, likely looking story boss. The leader steps forward. He gestures to his men and says, I don't think they're who we're looking for, men. Lower your weapons. There's far worse things out in this area than a dwarf and some sleeping people, whoever they are. Besides, and he sort of looks around, and as he's saying this, like, you notice like a few sort of spots of like snow have started to fall as the winter weather's coming in, a few flecks of white falling down from the sky as snow starts falling lightly at first and then getting heavier. He says, it's too cold to be spilling blood tonight. And then he hears you say, such as what? And he says, well, aside from the bandits, at which point a couple of his men sort of laugh and as they shoulder in the crossbow, like, yeah, bandits, good one, boss. As well, aside from the bandits, there's orcs abroad. Should be on your guard, dwarf.
Oh, I will. I saw you coming from a long way away.
Yeah, I could see that. He says, laughing. He says, I presume this was all part of your stunning plan to get surrounded and put us at our ease by allowing us to surround you and point weapons at you. A couple of his men are like, good one, boss.
Careful, you might wake the others.
That's fine. We're not going to rob you tonight. Like I say, it's too cold to be spilling blood hereabouts. If you want to wake your friends, go ahead.
Well, if you say there are orcs abroad, you should get on your way.
Oh, don't worry, we will. We saw the smoke from your fire and we thought perhaps the orcs had come down this far. So we thought we'd have a look. Or we thought you were probably a rich merchant caravan that we could like relieve of some goods to be distributed to those who need it. But looking at that wagon over there, I can see that's not the case. He takes out a pipe from his...
And we spent the last of our money on that, and he's dissing it.
He takes out a pipe from his pocket, tamps it down a bit, and he's like...
We're so poor that even bandits don't want to rob.
Well then, gentlemen, if you don't
You could
mind,
buy a car
I
and
think
install the
we're about to
stereo.
change over. So if you're done insulting everything that's here, be on your way.
He says, all right, stranger, don't get your chainmail in a twist. Says, look, I can see we've set off a bit on the wrong foot. Look, my name's Harper, Daniel Harper. I used to be a farmer hereabouts. Well, back before everything went to shit in the with the agriculture. But you know, you do what you do to like make ends meet, don't you? You go ahead and change your watch, whatever you need to do. I'm just going to stand here, take this air, enjoy my pipe, and then once the boys have relaxed a little bit, some of them are a bit jumpy, like I said, orcs abroad, I'm sure you can understand. Once they've calmed down a bit, we'll be on our way and you can go back to doing whatever you're doing.
Isn't it like 2 a.m? These guys are wandering about at 2 a.m. Okay.
Where are you heading anyway, dwarf?
Pondmount.
Wow. Good luck to you then.
Thank you.
Don't see why anyone would want to go on to Pondmount at the minute. People there are starving. Think we're desperate. Wait till you get to Pondmount.
It's not really much of your business.
All right, stranger. I didn't mean anything by it. I'm just trying to give you a bit of friendly advice. No harm intended.
I know you like to wander around with your crossbows and point them at people you don't know, but I like to get into the bad sides of places and actually help people. And I show my my pendant.
He looks at the pendant and he says, "Oh yeah, Kavresh. Oh yeah, he was a great help when we were all starving on the outskirts of Pondmount. Oh yeah, he did a great deal of good. Oh no, wait, the other thing. He didn't do a fuck all for us." He says, "No, Kavresh, Morg, all the other gods. Where were they when my family was starving on the farm?" And a couple of his men are like, "Yeah, what come we don't do that." He's like, "Look, he's like, you can believe what you want, stranger. All I'm saying is, if there were any gods listening to the prayers, when my wife and child were ill, when my family was starving, when people were disappearing on the outskirts of Pondmount, none of them answered any of my prayers. So from that day on, I thought, do you know what? The gods aren't doing anything for me. I'm going to do it myself."
That is a fair assumption, but I'm sure Kavresh has something better planned eventually for you. There can be hard times ahead for anybody, but then the good always comes out of the bad.
Well, I mean, no offence, stranger, but let's just say I won't be holding my breath for any assistance from Kavresh or Morg or any of them other lot.
I will pray for you nonetheless.
Wow, much obliged. Anyway, I'll let you get back to your watch change and everything. You're ready to move out, lads? Yeah, ready, boss. Yeah. All right, then let's get moving. Like I said, I'd stay sharp if I were you, dwarf. There's all manner.
I'm not ready.
There's all manner of strange things lurking about. Just be on your guard. A bit more than when we snuck up on you.
I've had a long day. Normally my eyes are sharp as knives.
Good to know. Good to know. Well, best of luck to you in Pondmount. I wouldn't be expecting a friendly welcome if I were you. People are getting a bit twitchy down in Pondmount. But safe journey. Come on, lads. Let's get going. And him and his men start sort of heading off across the open ground.
Okay, I decide to tell the others about all this in the morning when everyone's properly awake, but I go over to the next person who has to do the watch and quickly swap over.
Okay, excellent. At this point, I'm going to ask you, I can just find it. Can you please roll me a D12?
I literally only heard the last bit of that.
Can you please roll
You
me a
mean to
D12?
yourself? Who, me?
Yep.
Oh, right, okay. I wasn't prepared for that, John. Hold on.
Well, you know, you've got to think fast
7.
on your feet. That's how bandits sneak up on you.
Oh, shut up.
Okay.
7.
You're too busy looking for your dice.
Don't put that D12 away.
Okay.
Okay. Can you roll me 2 more D12s? Don't add them up. Just tell me what you get.
Yep. I got another 7 and an 11.
Okay, not a problem. Thank you very much. The rest
You're
of
welcome.
the rest of the evening passes fairly uneventfully, and you all start waking up in the morning.
All right. I wake up and go through my usual morning rituals.
I get some of the rations and start eating ravenously.
Okay, not a problem. You don't have to break into your own rations yet. You've still got the rabbits, etc. So
Perfect. Okay.
You took into them. You can basically see that it looks as though Dowdrika, she's basically got like an old pot, sort of made like a very simple stew that's just been sort of like bubbling over the embers. So there's still like about half a pot of that left that you can sort of dip into and help yourself to.
Well, so these rabbits, when she skinned them, when Milo was over checking it out, they didn't seem tainted.
Not as
I
far
would
as you
assume
could
since we're
see.
eating them. Yeah.
Okay, so Milo, how have you been sort of sleeping amongst this park? Because I know previously you've sort of slept a little bit away from the campfire in animal form.
Yes. That's how he has been sleeping. He doesn't feel too good about being too close to the ground at the moment, so he was sleeping in raven form in a tree.
Okay. So as you sort of start waking up and you're stretching your wings, Milo, and you look down at where the cart is from the nearby sort of shrubby tree, you can see there's a thin layer of snow on the ground now. The snow is still falling. It's getting like heavier, and you can just see the remnants of these like footfalls from these people the night before that are slowly getting covered by the snow.
So he will shake the cold from the night out of his body, flap his wing, and fly down to watch the camp. He won't land near the fire, but he will land in the outskirts of the fire and go and kind of see what they're up to.
Okay, you flutter down next to them. Glog, you are woken up by a wooden bowl being like plonked down next to you with some of this stew in. There's like Dowdrika, who was like the last person on watch, just sort of plonks a bowl of stew in front of you all.
Okay, so I sit up. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Keep an eye out. Keep a watchful eye for any tainted meat, things that are going wrong. We saw bad eggs back before, so we don't want to suffer the same fate eating food. I remember a caribou sickness that lasted a whole season. Lost members of our tribe.
Well, if you don't mind, I'm gonna climb in the cart and just get a couple of winks. I was on the last watch, she says, sort of cracking.
Of course.
Of course. The birds go, bad eggs. And then
yeah, there's this crowland next to him. It's like, bad eggs.
And then
I've seen you do this trick before, though, as I recall. Yeah.
Yeah. And the bird shakes and feathers are flying about, and Milo is reverted to his halfling form, where he will be
What have you seen, little one?
plugging out a few feathers from his hair. There's people here last night.
Yeah,
What?
about 5 or 6 of them.
What? Who?
Well, they didn't give me a roll call, but their leader was called Daniel Harper. They seem to be on the lookout for orcs.
Orcs?
Good to
He
know.
was going to rob us originally, but then I convinced him that we were not particularly important to him. He backed off a bit and actually seemed okay. He told us to be on our guard in Pondmount. We won't receive a warm welcome there.
Let's, as we travel, we should try to maybe increase our rations of any safe food we find. It might become progressively scarce as we get closer.
Orcs could easily smell fresher food as well.
I don't want to eat orc, but I will if I have to.
No, I mean the food you caught us, if they could smell it.
Ah, yes, of course. Well, I've skirmished with orcs before.
And eaten them.
Tastes like chicken.
It's a hard knock life being a barbarian.
That's it, man. No one appreciates the struggle and the agony they go through, man. Okay, so you guys get underway after you've had your breakfast, etc., and you continue on your journey to the southwest towards Pondmount.
As we travel, I want to be, let's say, frequently just kind of looking over the land, and I'm looking for signs of blight, sickness, illness. I mean, I lived in the outdoors my whole life, so
okay,
hopefully that might help
Make me a discern realities roll then, Glog. That's a roll plus wisdom.
Right.
Yep,
So,
yep.
like every hour or two we get closer to try and I figure we're going to encounter it sooner or later. We've already seen signs. So I get 8. Straight up 8.
Okay.
Milo's gonna stay in bird form and also kind of he'll be perching next to Durkin when he's riding the cart, and then he'll fly off once in a while and scout out the area.
Okay. Have you got the list of basic moves in front of you, Rob?
My basic moves.
Yeah, that's fine. You should be able to see the list of discern reality on it.
Oh, I don't have that in front of me. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's not a problem. I'm going to give you, with your role, I'm going to give you 6 questions, and you can ask me one of them to represent what you found out. So I'll list the questions. When you've decided which one you want, just let me know.
Well, I might be able to speed this up a little bit by just saying I'm primarily focused on what's wrong, what's sick, what's abnormal, what's not within human nature. You can choose. I trust your judgment.
Okay, not a problem. So as you're travelling along, about halfway through the second leg of your journey, you see what appears to be a small cottage just by a copse of trees. It's like a small woodsman's cottage, effectively. And as you look around at it, Glog, sort of ranging a bit ahead of the main group, you can see that the trees have an odd sort of twisted, unhealthy look to them. And you can see that it appears as though the actual hut itself has been damaged. There's like planks broken off it. The doors sort of hanging off it.
So I'm going to stop walking, as I was in the lead, I think, and just point. Fuck. That's not good. So I want to try and see where this begins and where it ends, like where the healthy part stops and the bad part starts. Is it contained around this hut, or is it just like that's a face and then this is the ill face kind of thing?
Okay, as you look around the hut, you can see it's in like a fairly sort of narrow radius around the hut, but as you move around the back of it, you can see in a cleared out space as what looks like it may have once been a couple of fields, perhaps containing crops, but instead of having like living crops in it now, it's got all these like horrible, twisted, dark thickets that have this unhealthy sort of dark blackish green colour to them, which reminds you very much of the sort of leprous colour of the eggs that you cracked in gallon meat.
Well, that's not a good sign. Although it seems to be somewhat centered, this area, that building in particular.
As you're sort of moving around the building, the rest have like moved up and joined you. Dowdrick is still like asleep in the back of the wagon. Obviously, you've still got Dirk here driving. You've got Milo sat next to her in bird form, occasionally flying off and circling around to make sure you're not surprised. As you're searching around this hut and looking at these crops, Glog, you see what appears to be a small well out the back of the hut, and you're just about to move over to have a closer look at it when you hear like banging and as though something's fallen over or been moved from inside the hut.
Okay, what's the approximate size of this hut?
The hut's very small, as in it's like a single room hut. You could probably fit about 4 people in it at a push. It's just a very simple, very small woodsman's
It's an elevator.
Hut. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Best not to let the mule get too close. We don't want it eating tainted grass or drinking tainted water. I'm going to go see about that noise, and I unhook my axe as I walk towards the door of this hut, and I'm just going to boot it open barbarian style.
Okay, not a problem. As you boot it, like the door literally like drops off the front of it because it was only hanging on by hope, basically. You boot the door off, and as you do, light from the outside floods in, and you see what appears to be this hunched up shape, and you can hear this sort of crouch down in the middle of the room, and you can hear this like this heavy, almost snarling breathing coming from it.
So I'm taking a couple steps back just because I don't want to inhale whatever this thing is exhaling.
Yeah, not a problem. This, as you move in,
Who or what are you?
As you say that, there's this like loud like, and this thing stands up, and it's this hunched, green-skinned, tusked humanoid with these like rippling muscles, with these unhealthy-looking black veins corded through the muscles. It raises a taloned hand holding this notched cleaver in one hand. But that's not the scary thing. The most scary thing about this green-skinned orc-like figure is as it rises to its full height, its bones and muscles creaking. It appears to be wearing, oddly enough, a dress.
Okay, so I'm going to take about 2 steps back, and then just take a stance, like a fighting stance. I'm going to call out weapons, and I'm not going to enter the hut. I want it to come out. So if it's not going to come out, I'm going to throw a dagger at it. But if it's going to come out, I'm just going to, as soon as it's within range, down with the axe.
Yeah, as it sees you, it lets out this like almighty, and it runs directly towards you, like swinging this cleaver around. Okay, not a problem. Make your hack and slash roll. Roll plus strength.
6.
Okay, so roll me a d10, please.
Yep. 10.
Okay, you take 15 points of damage. The rest of you, as you watch, you literally see Glog as this thing basically slices this cleaver into his neck. You see Glog get pushed back by it as it barrels into him, so almost throws itself on him, hacking frantically at his neck. You see blood spraying out from the cleaver as this huge orc wearing this odd sort of Hessian dress almost, just screaming almost unintelligibly, hacking at his neck with this cleaver, roaring as the two of them tumble backwards out of the door of this hut. Okay, Dirk, what are you doing? Dirk.
At this point, we're back at the cart, right? I mean, how far ahead were Clark?
As I said, you just caught up to him, so you're easily you could reach them in a move effectively. Especially since this orc thing's barreled into him, thrown him back through the door, and they've sort of tumbled backwards out of the door.
Yeah. Plus, I called out and everything. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm obviously going to draw my my mace. Okay, I think I'm going to cast one of my ropes. I'm going to cast light into the doorway.
Okay. Read out the effect. Well, narrate what happens.
So that will require me to go a bit further forward because it requires using an item like a stick to cast on that thing.
Yeah, that's fine.
So essentially what I'll do is I'll cast it on the end of my mace and I hold it as close to the doorway as possible.
Okay, no problem. Bear in mind that the orc and Glog aren't in the doorway anymore. It's sort of barreled Glog out of the doorway.
Yeah, we've tumbled outside.
Yeah, and they're both sort of wrestling on the ground, just in front
of
the
right,
door.
I see. Sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, never mind then. Scratch that. I will therefore go and assist Glog, whether to try and pull the thing off him or wrestle with him, essentially.
Okay, if you're going to try and pull the thing off him, that sounds like a defy danger to me. You're powering through, so it's a roll plus strength.
Okay.
Try and wrestle this thing off him. This thing's massively, almost hideously muscled. You can see these thick black veins, almost like ropes sort of cording around its muscles that are sort of bulging as it's wrestling with this mighty barbarian, hacking wildly at him.
Just remind me, because for some reason I've completely forgotten. Do I roll 1d6 or 2d6?
2d.
2. I did wonder why. Right, there we go. Okay. So that is a 10.
Okay. Yeah, you basically managed to throw this orc off the top of Glog. It rolls to a stop, but quite quickly springs back to its feet, sort of glancing between you and him. You can see long rivulets of draw running from its fanged maw as it's sort of looking between the two of you, still holding this cleaver now splattered with Glog's blood. Milo, the orc's off Glog, but it's quickly jumped back to its feet. I presume you're still in bird form at the moment.
Yes,
What do you want to do,
I
Milo?
will guess so. Milo will try to transform into a razor ball and charge the orc.
Okay, not a problem.
So he
Make
will,
your roll.
that's a shapeshifting
Mm-hmm.
plus whiz.
Size of an elephant.
I what's that? 6. I fail on a miss. Hold 1 in addition to whatever the GM says, so that's the tiny teddy bear again.
So what I'm going to say is, as you concentrate on sort of changing, and obviously you feel the flow of energies coming from the land, you can definitely feel the taint hereabouts. And as you sort of glance to your left, Glog, sort of as this orc's been thrown off you and you're sort of rising to your feet, you see Milo start to shimmer and change, as you've seen him do many times before. But instead of changing into an animal as he does normally, quite bizarrely, he changes into this human woman who just looks like a nondescript human woman. You don't know where he's got this idea from. They're like, oh, I know what'll scare an orc. I'll turn into a human woman. One thing you do notice slightly odd, though, is that as he's transformed, he appears to be like wearing the same dress that the orc's wearing.
I thought you was gonna say owlbear because he was a bird turning into a bear. So that's
I
where
won't lie and
owlbears
say I
come
didn't
from.
consider it, Dennis.
Well, I'm gonna say that Milo, in his panic and of the adrenaline, doesn't realize this before he's at the orc, so he's still gonna charge. I don't know if you want. Is that a move?
It
I
will
mean,
be,
it is
yeah.
move, but
So
it-
make
is it
your hack and slash. Well,
hack and slash?
I'm actually saying it'll be defy date. Well, no, hack and slash. Just roll for that. I'll be fine.
Okay.
It's not wrestling with Glog anymore.
I have a 7.
Okay, so roll your damage.
Oh, I get to roll damage. Hey. 6 points.
Okay, you inflict 6 points of damage on the orc. However, as you charge in, as it sees you coming towards it in this strange human form of yours, it stops for a minute as though it's like momentarily confused. And then as you stab into it, all the confusion fades from its face to be replaced by this absolute hatred and bloodlust. And it backhands you for 4 points of damage with this like meaty clawed hand, just like across the face, sending you reeling backwards a few steps. Glog, you've seen this strange tableau play out in front of you as this woman like charges towards this orc, gets the stab in there,
Right.
and then the orc. What do you do?
So I'm gonna use one of my moves here to try and focus it, force it to focus on me. So I have to get a 9 or better on my Constitution. I got a 7. So what happens with 7? It says an enemy other than the one you're trying to do. Like it might not be the one you're going for, but since there's only one here, then I don't know how you want to roll that.
I'm just going to go with it's this enemy that's attracted towards you, since, as you say, there aren't any other enemies hereabouts. So describe how you attract its attention.
So I say, "No, monster, focus on me," and I'm going to go rushing at it. Wow!
Get that hack and slash.
That doesn't get its attention. I don't know what will.
But Glog, it's
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, in your face.
Female lady woman.
As
Human.
the sort of bloodlust like takes you,
We
Glog,
can debate it later.
You run in swinging your action, just hear Durkin behind you going, but Glog, it's like a female. Glog, and you're like, "Argh!" Charging in with your axe. Roll your damage.
Well, it did 14 points of damage to me the first time, so yeah. So I get to do +2 on this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 9. I don't know if there's any crit rules or not, or maximum rules. I know for some things there was, but I don't remember if there is here.
Okay, so describe how you deliver a vicious blow to this orc creature. It doesn't kill it, but you've done it some harm.
All right, so I got very angered at it. I mean, I was really admire Milo for being brave, but I got really angry at this thing for fighting this little thing like pick on someone your own size kind of thing. And so, yeah, fight me, bastard.
That's very true. Thank you for reminding me, Dennis. So if you wish, you can choose to do an extra d6 damage, Rob, but you will expose yourself to damage.
Oh, I see. I'm badly wounded enough that I'm not going to do that already. But I've got it to tension anyway.
Since you've got that good roll, I'm going to say that as you strike this thing and it sort of staggers backwards, you see that it appears to be wearing something around its neck, something metallic, like glinting silver. But you can't, as it's sort of thrashing about and waving this cleaver, you can't really get a good look at it. Durkir.
Can I, as a free action, can I yell out about that?
Yeah, go for it.
It's wearing some sort of charm. I'll point.
Oh. Well, that's all right then. And I also go hurtling in.
Get that good hack and slash on.
All right.
2d6 plus your strength modifier.
Oh, I also got a double 6, so that's 14 in total.
Okay, so you get to roll your damage, and you can choose to do an extra d6 if you want, but you'll expose yourself to damage.
Yeah, why not? I've got a lot of hit points. Okay, so that is 11 damage in total.
Okay, so roll me a d10. If you've not got one, I can just roll one. It's quite easy.
I do in the bag. I do in the bag. It's throwing me. Okay,
I had a lot of hit points.
How much did you roll, sorry?
An 8.
Okay, you take 13 points of damage in return.
Ooh, very nice.
So, with that attack, I will tell you, Durkir, you have finished this thing off. However, as you're sort of hacking at it, it's also stabbing at you with this cleaver, and it manages to cause quite a vicious wound down your side as it's like just jamming this cleaver into you before you finally, describe how you swing your hammer down and finish it off.
Okay, so essentially I'm rushing forward and this thing manages to get this big wound in my side which really burns just as I'm trying to ready and bring it up high, but then whack, I do it right down on hers face, which just completely smears all over the ground.
Not a problem. You literally sort of like chop its head on the diagonal, sort of slicing its face almost in two. It thrashes about a bit before its hand falls limply from the cleaver that's like still sticking out of your side, Durkir. Then with a loud, it just collapses to the floor and lies still, its blood soaking into the still settling snow and turning it a deep pink colour.
When it hit Milo and he flew back in the female woman form, as we call it, he lets out a cry, and he reverts back to halfling form, and there's kind of like splatters of blood around, and he shakes it off,
Okay.
and the long hair from the woman kind of falls off.
As you're reverting back to your halfling form, with its last sort of spasming ounce of strength, as like its life's blood seeping into the snow, this twisted green creature like reaches out a taloned hand, almost so it's like reaching out towards you, Milo, and it tries to say something in this sort of strange like grunting language that you don't understand, and then
she just wanted to be friends.
What was that? Milo says as he shakes his head. That hurt
What was what?
really bad.
I was aiming for her.
I'm going to go up and I'm going to take its cleaver.
okay, the cleaver's still like sticking out the side of Durkir at the minute.
Yes.
Okay. I will take it out of Durkir then.
Not a problem. You walk by and you're like whoop it out. There's a bit of a spray of blood, but better out than in, as the saying goes.
Most of this is mine anyway.
Barbarian first aid.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is this spine yours? And he puts it back.
He's a barbarian, not the predator. Same difference, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've got this cleaver, Glog. It, as you're looking at it, it doesn't really look like a like proper melee weapon. It looks like a standard sort of like kitchen cleaver that you might have seen in the Orc's Head Inn back at Gallenmead. It's not like a mace or a sword. It's just like a kitchen like chopping cleaver. Looks as though it's quite old. It's a little bit dull. It's quite notched. There's quite a lot of scratches on it.
I'm going to just heft it for a bit, get a sense of the balance, wipe off any blood that's on it, and then I'll just add it to my belt, carry it around.
Not a problem. You took it into your belt.
Maybe walk into the hut, see what's in there.
Okay.
Are you okay? I mean, your shoulder looks really bad, Clark. And
Yeah,
you too?
yes,
Okay.
it does hurt quite a bit, but it should leave a good scar, don't you think?
I like how you think.
Well, yeah. But maybe you want to set it first. I mean, so
Are you have some knowledge in this?
well, sure. I mean, when like when a animal breaks a bone, you need to set it, otherwise it doesn't go back right.
I know what you mean, but I don't have those skills.
Would you like me to bless your wounds?
Would that help?
Oh, yes.
If this is Warhammer, it would be absolutely not, but it'll make you feel good.
I can demonstrate on my own self, if you like, to show I'm not just talking nonsense.
No need. I trust you.
But while they're doing that, Milo will check out the orc thing.
Okay. You head over to the orc creature, and as you peer down at it, you can see it, as I described, it's wearing this sort of strange like patchwork like Hessian dress. And as you lean closer over, you can see it's got like what appears to be a tiny it looks even tinier on this huge orc. It's this tiny like silver necklace with a little coin on it around its neck.
Where have I seen this before? Possessed people wearing a coin.
Okay. So it looks like one of those coin that we got from the dwarf back at Gallenmead.
Yes, it's a similar thing. It looks as though someone's like taken a coin, punched a hole through it, and threaded like a silver chain through it to make a necklace.
Okay. Milo's just gonna assume it's what humans do and orcs, apparently.
Okay.
I would like to say, if you have no objections, that I have seen or maybe encountered orcs before. Is this a typical one? Or is this a mutated, hulkish version?
It does look like a typical orc, although orcs seem to show like quite a lot of sort of like physical variance. They're quite a sort of mutable species anyway. But this looks like a fairly standard sort of orc.
So this would be an average strength orc.
Yeah.
Wow, orcs are strong in this world. Holy crap.
You see Milo sort of looking down at this this necklace and this orc like,
What do you think? Protection? A curse? Sentiment?
But I don't know if this is normal orc behavior. I will take out the little knife that he still haven't given Rufus back, that he borrowed back at then.
okay.
And he'll cut up the dress to see if the body looks sick or tainted.
Okay, you cut the dress, so it's quite difficult to tell it. The orc is obviously a female as you cut the dress off, but it's difficult to tell. Like I say, it's this twisted sort of mottled like grey-green skin that's typical of orcs. These sort of thick black veins cording the muscles. It's quite hunched as though its spine's curved. But well, I tell you what, make me a a spout lore roll to see what you know about orcs?
Absolutely nothing.
Okay, you're at a bit of a loss. You've never really seen like an orc close up before, so this might be typical for orcs. You're not sure.
Yeah. And the blood from the orc's wounds seems like normal blood, not this.
It does look an unhealthy sort of a black green colour, but again, you're not sure if that's normal for orcs. I mean, after all, their skin is
Yeah,
green.
that could be. That's true. Huh.
I've probably seen orc blood before. I mean, I don't know much about orc health.
Well, make me a
always been trying to
lore
kill
roll,
them.
Glog. So that's a roll plus intelligence.
Right on. Well, +0 for me. So 6. So all I'm trying to determine is does this look like the orc blood I've seen before?
It does, yeah.
Okay. Seems right.
As you're sort of saying this and you're looking down at it, you can glance through the door into the hut, Glog, and you can see that it looks like there was a fairly simple table in there, some pots and pans, some kitchen knives, etc. But everything's been tipped over and broken and smashed, almost like something went berserk in here and just tore the place up.
Does it look, the furniture and stuff, does it look like it was human furniture or orc furniture, like maybe by its size, you know?
It looks as though the furniture was sized for a human.
Right. So this thing broke in here. So that seems that Harper person wasn't lying. There are orcs in the area, at least one.
But this is an orc?
Oh. Yes. I'm going to look around for a body, like assuming this orc killed the person who was here. I don't know that, but
okay.
I'm just going to like walk the perimeter.
You walk around. You also check in the hut. You don't see any sign of a body anywhere, which does strike you as slightly unusual.
I don't know. I mean, it was a person living here. What about the dress? Was it an orc-sized dress, or like was it too small for the body size? Like,
as you peer at the dress you have to sort of like fold it back over because Milo's cut it off the orc. As you sort of fold it back over, you can see there's numerous tears and rips in it, as though this like big orc had tried to like squeeze itself into a human-sized dress and sort of like ripped it in several places because it was obviously too big.
Milo, I don't know much about such things, but I don't think you should put that necklace on. I think that orc was once a human.
What?
Well, there's no body if the orc killed a human, and the orc was wearing a human-sized dress and using a human cleaver.
Okay.
To be honest, as you're saying,
You know,
Glog,
you change into a raven, you change into a person, it changed into an orc. Or she changed into an orc.
Yeah.
But she didn't want to change into an orc. That thing she was wearing might have made it happen. I don't know.
Shouldn't we take the necklace off then?
I thought you did take it off the...
No, he left it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Take that and put it in your pocket, and we'll have someone who knows of such things trying to determine if it's cursed or not. I don't know. Is that something saying again? I don't know.
But when you say curse, it kind of while it goes. He's not
okay,
too
so
keen of touching curse items.
I'll take out the dagger. I'll take out a dagger then, and I'm just gonna like cut through the chain that's holding it on there, and then I'll pick it up with a dagger and drop it into a pouch, and then I'll hand it to Milo.
Okay, you sort of pick it up with the coin sort of like spinning around as you pick it up on the end of your dagger, and as it does so, you can see there's like writing engraved on the back of the coin. Glog, as you're sort of holding it on the dagger.
Writing I can read?
Yeah, it's standard human writing in basic, and it says to my darling Henrietta, Daniel.
You see, human charm, human sentiment. This creature was once a human, but I don't think this charm did it.
That'll be why Daniel is so busy searching for orcs. Maybe he was trying to find her, and now we've killed her.
But she wasn't an orc. She was a human who turned into an orc,
Yes,
wearing a
that's what I'm
human-sized
saying.
dress.
Well, maybe Daniel didn't want to, kill her, even though she's an orc, because...
That's what I mean. Maybe he wants to save her.
Oh, Milo looks...
More important to me is what causes this to happen. I don't want to become an orc.
As you're thinking about this, from inside the hut, you hear a thin, piercing, infantile cry.
I thought we looked inside the hut already.
Yeah, you've had a quick glance in there because you were stood by the body talking to Milo.
All right. I reach for my weapon and then, Milo, maybe you should go look.
Okay. He looks over at Durgan. Maybe we should talk to your friend Daniel about this.
He's not my friend, and I don't particularly want to talk to him about it. I have a bad feeling. Anyway, what about those wounds of yours, Glarg?
Milo goes into the hut.
I let him do his ministrations.
Okay.
I say to him, it does seem though that Harper was correct. There are orcs in the area, and it's because of humans becoming them. Well, they could be anywhere.
So I cast Cure Light Wounds on him. I do manage to heal 3 wounds. But because I only rolled a 7, I also draw unwelcome attention or put myself in a spot. So the GM will tell me how.
Okay, splendid. I'll make a note of that. We'll get to that shortly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so as this is going on, you walk into the small woodsman's hut, Milo, and as you're heading, you can hear this baby, this infant, crying. And as you look over to the left of the door as you walk in, you can see there's a small, fairly crude sort of wooden crib there, and there's a little human baby all wrapped up in blankets, sort of crying its eyes out. And next to it, you can see what appears to be a small wooden table that's been knocked over. There's what appears to be a small, it looks like a cup of what must have once been milk, but it's got this strange, unhealthy, grey colour to it. And it's as though someone has knocked it over, and this cup's on the floor, so spilt all this unhealthy looking grey milk next to it.
Okay. But it doesn't look grey or have fangs or...
The baby,
tentacles.
aside from the fact it's crying its tits off, looks like a normal human baby. You assume. Not that you really know. It looks like a tiny human, though.
Okay. Well, he'll reach down and try to feel it on its head.
Okay. You put your hand on its head. It seems like, you assume, a normal human baby. It sort of cries and squirms a little bit as you touch its head.
Okay. He will... Okay. He'll take out some of his... it says I have some poultices and herbs and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Can he have some some roots from the forest that you can chew and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's absolutely fine.
Okay, he'll get one of those out and kind of chew it a little to get the juices going and hand it to the baby.
Okay, can you make me a charisma roll, please, Marlo?
I can. I rolled a 6.
Okay, you sort of hold this juice dripping root in front of this kid's face, and it's turning his face away from it. Meanwhile, as we cut to the cart outside, Rufus, you guys have been travelling for a couple of days in this in this cart that you guys spent your pouch of 50 coins on to get this cart and this mule, and you've been sort of like lying asleep in the cart, probably sleeping off the shock of like having spent 50 coins on like a mule and a cart. But you
Did Milo negotiate that?
Yeah, of course he did. He turned himself into a merchant and negotiated it.
I betcha.
So you and Dowdrika, the dwarf who's following Glarg, have been sort of sleeping in the cart 'cause you both took like the last watch, and you can hear this like commotion as you start like waking up. You can see that it started like you must be about halfway to Pondmount. You can see it started snowing. There's like quite a thick covering of snow on the ground.
Snowing?
Yeah,
Isn't it summertime?
No, it's winter time.
Winter's here. Right. Okay.
Okay. As you're climbing out of the cart, you can see you're by this small woodsman's hut.
I have a flaw called seasonal blindness. I apologise.
It's fine. Glarg's there. He's got quite a deep injury on his like shoulder. You can see Dirk here's laid his hands on it and is slowly like healing up a bit of this wound. Then lying in the snow with this massive pool of blood around it is this huge twisted green orc, and then just like a foot to one side of it is this like Hessian dress just lying on the snow next to it.
Yeah, it doesn't look good though.
So
this is not a good scene to wake up to.
So Rufus, he's going to lie back down just for like a couple of seconds and mumble to himself, I should have stayed in prison. I should have stayed and worked off my time. How did I get involved in this? And he's like, right, okay. And up he gets, jumps out of the car with a sly flourish, and approaches this orc. Are orcs quite common in this world, John?
They're not common in the lands of man at all. They're more to the east, beyond the World Spine Mountains.
So this could be the very first time I've seen an orc.
Well, I'll tell you what, make me a spout law roll to see what you know about orcs.
Is that 2d6 straight down the line?
No, it's 2d6 plus your intelligence modifier.
Okay, my intelligence is 0, no surprise.
So yeah,
no, my intelligence
it is
actually
2d6 straight down the line. Then.
My intelligence is actually -1. I lied. So that's a 6, John.
It's worse than just 0. Worse than nothing.
This is absolutely the first orc you have ever seen, Rufus.
What in all that is holy upon this land is that creature?
It's an orc.
Dead.
Yeah,
what?
As you guys are healing up, you see like Rufus, who's like been asleep in the cart, like climbing up, and he's like, "What the hell is that creature there?"
You've obviously not been outside the city before, have you?
I mean, I have. I thought orcs were like grey. This is like
True. The skin is of a more grassy green feature.
But this isn't a normal orc. This was once a human. Not very long ago either.
Orcs used to be humans?
No.
This one.
Oh, just this one. Oh, okay.
Well, we don't know how many. We don't know what's causing this.
And I'm going to assume that the cause of death is Glarg.
No.
No?
Yours truly.
It was a group
that
effort.
Warhammer-shaped thing in the face.
Yeah, but basically, its face looks. It's got like a massive sort of axe wound across it that you're like, yeah, that's Glarg's handiwork. I recognise that. But like, the whole front of its face has just been like staved in by this massive hammer, just like smashing its much in.
I stand corrected.
Oh, Glag, Durkin is trying to kill steal you.
I sort of lean into Glag. I won't tell you, fan. Was there more of these? Or just
I believe
the
we
other
all
one?
wounded it, actually. Thank God there was only one. It hit me for 15 in one shot.
To be honest,
Dirk
as
here for
you're
13.
saying this, Glarg, you're thinking in your mind, to be honest, I'm actually glad it was only like holding like a human kitchen cleaver. If it had had like a battle axe or something, I might have been in like even more of a world of hurt.
Yeah, but it would have been a good death.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Is it wise for us to linger here? I was enjoying my nap. I don't get to sleep well these days.
Inside the hut, Milo will take some blankets. I'm gonna assume they have maybe some sheepskin or something he can wrap the baby in.
Okay, so
And
Milo comes walking out of the hut, and he's holding this like tiny human baby. Well, holding.
Is he in his
baby,
merchant
like,
form?
In his arm. No, he's in his normal halfling form. He's holding like in his arms this human
What
baby
is
like
that?
wrapped up in furs. That's like crying.
Shit.
Is that a newborn child? Where's its beard?
They don't come out with beards, do they?
No.
They do.
Okay.
Most dwarves do.
I think this
Not
is
humans.
human. I think. Yeah.
This baby's
We-
like
we-
screaming its tits off while you're having this discussion.
So I'm going to go over to Dowd. I apologize to all the listeners that my character is so sexist. I'm going to go over to Dowd. Do you know anything of child rearing?
You nudge her because she's still asleep in the cot. She opens her eyes and it's like, Glog? No, I don't know anything about raising youngsters. To be honest, part of the reason I went to Gallenmeet to be a soldier was to get away from all that shit.
Maybe
She's
it's
a,
hungry.
she's a soldier, and when she's been with us, she has been in charge of cooking, and now you want to put her in
So,
charge
I
of
know,
child
my
rearing.
character's an
I take
asshole.
one of
What can I
the-
say?
I take one of the rabbits that we've got left and just sort of dangle it in its face.
The kids,
You hungry?
Hair mobile.
the kid sort of like screws its face up as you dangle this like skinned rabbit in its face. It's like,
Oh.
I don't know what to do either.
No, I think we need. Go, yeah, okay. Milo goes over to Durgara. But what was her name again?
Dowdrico. Or Dowd for short.
Dowrika. Dowd.
Dowd.
She,
Do I have any-
she peers down at the kid and she's like, where's its beard?
See?
I don't think it has a beard.
It's a human.
Yeah.
Humans don't have beards when they're born, apparently.
What a and Rufus is having like an existential crisis in himself. It's like, what does a druid look like when they're a child?
You see that Dowdrico having, despite being obviously being a female dwarf, has like not shaved within the last couple of days. Normally she's like cleanly shaven, but she's started to get like a bit of stubble, and she like scratches her chin and goes, "No beard. Oof, that's weird."
But maybe. Can you?
The poor thing's probably hungry. Rufus is gonna root around in his pack. He's got a few spare rations, I think, and he's gonna get the kid some food.
I just gave it a rabbit and it didn't want it.
Yeah, that needs cooking. Oh wait,
Okay,
where's
so
Nimble
what are
when you
you
eat one?
I
suggesting
don't
you're
think
gonna
it
rummage
was
in
a
your
raw
rations?
rabbit.
Give it
I
some
don't know
water.
what-
I'll give it some water or something.
I don't know what human babies eat.
Okay, make me a charisma roll, please, Matthew.
Ha, jokes on you, Junks. I am Mr. Charisma. Okay. This is going to be a double one
I was
moment,
going to
isn't
say,
it?
I'm going to laugh if you get a double one now. Charisma.
I've called it now.
We're all going to laugh.
So that's an 8 plus my thing. I've not had a charisma roll yet. +1. Woo! So that's 9.
It seems a little wary at first as you give it some water. Then it opens its mouth and you're able to give it a little bit of water. At which point it stops screaming and it sort of it gurgles a little bit and it sort of like with its little pudgy hands reaches out in your direction and it's like.
Oh, you're good at this, says Milo and hands the baby to Rufus.
Oh, God.
Okay, yeah, Milo's like, oh, you're good at this, Rufus. There you go.
This is not... Oh, okay.
This baby sort of puts its thumb in its mouth, starts sucking its thumb, and it goes quiet.
I'm going to get one of my bedrolls and try and make it comfortable. No, it's got
No,
furs, but it's winter.
it's already wrapped in.
Yeah, but it's winter, Milo. It's winter. Poor thing.
Sheep's fur.
As you're sort of caring for the baby, Rufus, Glog, Dowdrico walks past you. You see a look of relief on her face. She's like, walks back towards the cart.
That's that one.
The only thing I know they eat is their mother's milk. I look at Rufus.
You hear Dowdrico go, well, unless Rufus isn't telling us something, I think it's out to look there.
I'm going to give Glag the look of daggers like I have on my belt.
I deflect with my shield.
Okay, what do you guys do? You're in this hut. There's a dead orc. You've got a small baby.
But
Snow's falling heavily.
I think we need to track down this Daniel because
Yes. This must be his baby.
Daniel?
Yes.
it's one of Durkan's friends.
He's not my friend.
Colleague?
No.
With him.
Acquaintance by the absolute most. This must be his child.
So what's the plan, guys?
Well, we can't stay out here. It's freezing.
No.
We were on our
And-
way to Pondmount. Let's
I
keep
don't know where
going.
he is. I'm sure we will run into him if we shout loudly enough. But I don't
We're
know where he
halfway
is.
there now. We might as well continue.
Yeah, we can't leave
Yeah.
this poor thing out in the middle of nowhere.
We've
Before-
got to make for somewhere to not be nowhere. Pondmount is as good a place as any.
Yes. Agreed.
Before we go, Milo will get some water from the well to fill the water skins.
Could you do that
Make
bird
sure
thing you
that
do, Milo?
water's not tainted.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll-
indeed, as you draw the bucket of ham to the well, you see there's this unhealthy-looking, greasy, grey film on top of the water.
Yeah.
You'd be better off. I point at the snow that's falling. You'd be better off gathering water that way. A gift from Moog.
A gift from Mo.
Mog. A gift from Mog. I point at the snow like, what are you, an idiot?
You called snow a gift from Mo.
Yes, of course. It's weather.
I thought you called it snow.
I thought that snow was just when frozen water fell out of the sky.
Yes,
Nothing more.
that's what it is. But it is a gift given to us from Mog.
I call it blooming winter.
But why is it a gift? It freezes
Because he
things.
can drink it.
It causes death.
Tainted water there, fresh water from the sky. Ugh. I'm going to start walking.
Cavresh conjures fire that can cook things, it can warm things, it can provide light.
Okay, so as you guys are having
That
an
is a
argument
gift.
about which god's best, Cavresh or Moog, which isn't really
My
going
God's
anywhere because
dick's
you're like,
bigger than your
because
God's dick.
Dirk is like, oh, Cavresh, blah 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 blah, and Glog's like, Moog, that is up. Weather, Moog, that is up. Like, not having any of it. So as you guys are arguing, you start climbing back on the cart. You've still got the baby, Rufus. You'll start climbing back on the cart and get ready. Who's driving the cart for the last leg of the journey?
Hopefully somebody else.
Not me.
Well, obviously Rufus would have trouble because he's taking care of a small baby.
Oh, okay. I'm familiar with the
Well,
horse
let's let
anyway,
Tanya
my
drive
friend.
it. Can we do that?
You can do.
Hey.
Dog.
Okay, in which case, if Sanya's driving, I'm going to ask Jay, can you please roll me 2d6?
Yes.
Again, I'll be walking in the lead, though.
I got an 8.
I'm going to look for more signs of this blight now that I know what to look for, especially.
Okay, on the last leg of the journey, as you're travelling, the weather is getting progressively worse, meaning the cart's moving a lot slower. The snow is falling very heavily to the point where normally you probably want to look for shelter and hopefully press on when the weather's improved. Do you guys just push ahead or?
Well, if it were just me, yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to look for a good place to shelter.
Okay, roll me 2d6. There's no modifier.
Kind of makes me feel like home here. Ooh. 6 and 3 is 9.
As we're traveling, John, is there any signs of like battle and skirmishes and that sort of thing? Like,
Not that you can see, obviously, but if there are any tracks that have been covered by the thick snowfall, based on your knowledge of the weather and how Morg tends to work, Glog, you think that this weather's not going to clear up anytime soon. In fact, it's probably going to get worse before things get better. You think if,
All right,
if
so
you
I'm
carry
gonna
on
start-
moving ahead, it's going to be a struggle, or you could sort of camp for a bit.
Right. So, in fact, as soon as I make that realization, I'm going to start looking for a place where we can camp for possibly an extended time if we have to.
Okay.
Also, as we're traveling, as we're walking, like I want to be, maybe a few hundred yards ahead of the group. Also hunting as we go, like lightly hunting as we go, so I can try and build up some stock, some supply, extra rations.
Okay, as you're searching around, like I say, in these small sort of hills, these rolling hills that are surrounding you, eventually as you're sort of like moving amongst them, Glog, using your knowledge of the wild, since obviously your people don't live in the cities, you're quite at home in the wild, you see in the side of one of these sort of rocky hillocks what appears to be a large cave mouth. It's quite dark inside, but you can just about make out the golden amber flickering light of what must be a fire somewhere inside the cave.
It seems like an ideal spot that someone's already found. Start walking towards it.
Okay.
I'm going to look around to see if the rest of the group's with me, though.
Maybe bandits, Daniel.
I will
behind
pass
you.
the baby to Glag's fan base, and I will come and join him.
No, I think she's just going to refuse it.
Yeah, you hold it over to Dadrika, and she's like, I don't want it.
Would you rather get shot?
She's like, yeah, I'm a soldier. What do I know about raising human children? I don't know anything about raising dwarf children. She's like, what part of this extensive chainmail and armour combination I'm wearing suggests that I'll be a good mother figure for a human child?
And I'll say to her, do I look like a father figure while dressed head to toe in like hooded robes?
Hey, at least you're the same race as the child.
Yeah, you're almost wearing a dress.
That doesn't mean we act empathy for each race. Come on.
I know, my character's sexist.
Maybe a charisma roll, see if you can persuade her, Rufus.
Yeah. Damn right.
She's blatantly not happy about it, but...
I can't exactly sneak while carrying a baby now, can I?
Let's see if you put in your big
That's
boy
11, John.
Okay.
It's a question of who's more helpful to us in combat, though, really.
So describe how you persuade her to take this child off you, Rufus. You have succeeded.
Well, I explained to her, look, someone's got to guard the car anyway. It's got the rations, it's got the horses, and if they get killed, we're stranded out here. I am better out there because I'm better at remaining silent. If I'm stood here, I'm just holding a baby, not helping. You're better at axe with a shield. I am not good at that kind of combat.
I suppose you're right. Look, I'll do you a deal, Rufus. Give me some of that pipe tobacco you've got. So at least I can have a pipe while I'm waiting for you guys to sort out whatever you're doing, and I'll look after the damn thing.
Sounds fair. We'll look after the cart, but the baby's in the cart.
So basically, you paid the babysitter to go adventuring.
With drugs, yes.
Well, it's tobacco. So cross out a dose of your Harvling pipe tobacco that you've got.
Okay.
To Dadrika, and she sort of takes the baby off, sort of holding it at arm's length as though it's some sort of dangerous explosive that's about to go off any moment. Then puts it down on the little like bench in the cart next to her, and she's like, "There, small human. Everything's going to be all right."
So I'm going to get out the car, and I'm going to, as stealthily as I can, John,
As you're
back
sort of
Glag
getting
up.
out of the cart, she like leans in next to you and she's like, "You owe me for this, Rufus."
Deal. I'd rather owe a favour than be dead.
And you said you're climbing out the cart stealthily. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to accomplish?
I'm trying to move silently and like flank wherever Glag is. Flank him so he's got support. Can't really do that with carrying a baby.
Make me a dex roll.
You got it.
2d6 plus dex mod.
Bosh. Okay, that's 7 plus 2, so 8, 9.
Okay. So you are fairly stealthy. However, I'm going to say because Glog's ahead of you and you only got a 9, you would have to make another roll to get like yourself into like backstab sort of range.
Okay,
if you
that's fine.
to.
Yeah.
But in terms of just like approaching, you are sort of very stealthy.
Like watching my footfall, so I'm not making obvious tracks and trying to. If someone is running ambushes, that it's one easy target that have to split their forces.
Okay, in fact, as you're sneaking round, you see just round the other side of the cave, Rufus, there's a human stood there wearing a cloak. You see he's like holding a crossbow and he's like...
Does he have any kind of insignia on him? Is it like a guardman or...
He doesn't. He's wearing fairly sort of like common, obviously patched together rough clothing. He's got a sort of travelling cloak pulled tight around himself against the cold, and he stood there holding this crossbow. He doesn't appear to have spotted you.
Yeah. I'm going to observe him then as quietly as I can and see what happens when a massive Glag approaches.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm assuming I would come into his view as well by now.
Okay. And since we've not got Glog there at the moment, I'm going to take this advantage to quickly nip off to the little gems room. I shall be back in a moment.
What is Milo doing at this time? That's the question I have.
Milo will be following you, but Milo will also go to the little GM's room.
Oh,
Behind a snowy thicket.
okay. So I guess it's just me and Durka. Are you flanking the other side of me, or?
I suppose I would be, yes, but I'm going to try and keep out of view if it's who I think it is, because I don't really want to talk to him at this point.
Is he your friend?
No. He basically just kind of tried to rob us in the middle of the night, and then he's like, "Oh, you're not like we thought you were going to be. Watch out
You're
for
not
all.
worth robbing.
Bye bye."
You're not easy prey. That means you guys would recognize him then.
Well, I would. The others
Yeah.
wouldn't, because
Okay.
I was the one keeping watch at the time.
Right.
Yeah, we were all asleep.
Okay, so Glog, you've made your way towards this cavern mouth, and as you're getting near to it, you can hear the sound of discussion inside. You hear someone going, "Oh, don't worry about it, boss. I'm sure they're fine. I'm sure we'll find them eventually." Yeah, maybe you're right, Tom. Maybe you're right. And as you're sort of making your way around Glog, obviously none too stealthily, you can see just sort of around the side of the cave, there's a guy stood there wearing a travelling cloak, holding a crossbow. As obviously you stomp towards the cave, he takes a few steps around and he's holding his crossbow, sort of pointed at
Okay.
you. Not as in I'm immediately about to shoot, more sort of like.
Good. Right. So I just want to suggest that I wasn't going to attempt to be stealthy at all.
Yeah.
I was just going to openly approach.
Yeah, that's fine.
So I've got my weapon sheathed and I just come walking up. I'm just going to talk.
He looks at you and he says, Who are you? What do you want?
Glarg, who are you?
He says, my name's Richard. Boss, we've got someone out here. At which point you hear movement in the cave and about half a dozen of these people walk out. All humans wearing fairly sort of peasant-style clothes. A couple of them have crossbows, a few of them have swords. Durkee, you recognise Daniel, their leader, as he walks out of the cave.
I in a kind of a low whisper, I swear some very profane dwarvish.
Okay, this figure walks out of the cave, this human. He's got a sword. It's still sheathed, like tucked into his belt. Well, it's obviously quite an old sword, obviously seen a lot of use. Again, he's wearing one of these sort of dark green travelling cloaks. He looks up at you, Glog, and he says, "What can I do for you, stranger?"
We're just looking for shelter from the coming storm. You're Daniel Harper?
Yeah, that's right. Do I know you?
No. You were looking for orcs?
He looks a little bit wary and he says, "Yeah, that's right. Why?"
We found one. It attacked us. We killed it.
Oh, Glog. At that point, I kind of march into view, hopefully to just stop him from talking.
Yeah, not a problem, Durkee. You sort of march up.
Tell him the truth.
And he says, "Oh, it's you again, dwarf."
Durkee will attempt a block parley move.
Yeah, he looks at you, Durkee, and he says, "Oh, it's you again, dwarf."
Yes, this is the rest of my companions. We do seek shelter.
Well,
Hello.
I don't.
Milo says.
He looks down at you and he's like, "Hello." He says, "Well, yeah, we've only got a small fire in there, and it'd be a bit tight squeeze for all of you lot as well as us. But yeah, you're welcome. Doesn't look like this snow's letting up anytime soon."
No. And this one thinks it's a gift or something strange, and I kind of step through.
As you sort
It's
of
a
step
gift
through,
when you can't find fresh water.
as you step through into the cave, he's like, "Well, weren't you only telling me the other night, dwarf, that all of this was like the work of the gods, and that the gods had our best interests at heart?" And he smirks a little bit.
He worships a different god from me. It's complicated.
Yeah, I bet it is. It's always complicated. Yeah, anyway, you're welcome to share our fire. Like I said, it'll be a bit of a tight squeeze, especially with you, big fella, but
Many thanks.
I brought some extra food.
Oh, well, you're more than welcome then, stranger. We've only got game's getting a little bit scarce with the weather. Most of it's gone to ground, but yeah, get yourself into the cave and he sort of ushers you all in.
Right, so I'll pull out maybe an additional rabbit or something similar I've hunted along the way today. And yeah, I'll make my way into the cave. Sit by the fire. I want to look around, like make sure there's no. Is there a back to the cave, or does it keep going?
No, it's just a round cave. There is a back to it.
Perfect.
You have a quick look around. There doesn't appear to be any signs of danger in there. There's like these other sort of 5 or so people sat around. A couple of them sort of look up as you enter, but their leader, Daniel, holds his hand up and he says, "They're just coming in to share the fire, boys. Don't worry about it." He looks at you, Glog, and he says, "Sorry about that. They're a bit jumpy. Like I say, you can't be too careful hereabouts. Strange things wandering the land."
Why are you looking for orcs?
Well, he gathers you all around the fire and he says, "Well, it's like this. I used to be a farmer, me, the wife, and my daughter. I used to be a farmer on the outskirts of Pondmount. Then last season, for whatever reason, forgive me if this is why I'm not quite as willing to believe in the gods as you, dwarf, but all of our crops started failing, and then people started getting sick and disappearing in the village. And well, I came back one day to find my house utterly destroyed, my wife and child gone." And my neighbours said they'd seen orcs about, so I assumed they must have killed him and made off with him. So, well, since we had no food or crops or anything, well, the people in Pondmount didn't really want to help us. They just kept saying, "Oh well, it's probably just a natural thing. Don't worry about it." It's all very well for them to say with their trade and they're all safe inside the town. For us on the outskirts, well, if your crop fails, that's your livelihood gone. And well, I was
when he's talking about that. Milo will move over to Dirk and kind of like yank his chainmail shirt.
I just grunt at him like, "What?"
Should we tell him? No?
Of course we shouldn't fucking tell him.
As you're having this discussion, he carries on and says, "Well, I wasn't going to stand for no orcs doing what they did to my dear Henrietta, so I gathered up a few of the other farmers who'd fallen on hard times, and we set out. Yeah, okay, we've done some less than legal things to make ends meet. We've got to eat, we've got to survive like everyone else. But we've been out here looking for these orcs. We've come across a few of them. We've killed a few of them. But wow, they're powerful creatures. There were 8 of us when we set out. There's only 6 of us now."
Yes, they're pretty strong.
One of the other people sat there says, well, "Yeah, first time I've seen orcs come this far west."
How far out of their normal lands have you seen them?
He says, "Well, we've seen them hereabouts. Normally, from what we hear, they're only on the eastern side of the world, Spy Mountains. I mean, that's what we've got all them fools up at Gallonmeet for. They're supposed to be watching the pass there. Obviously, they ain't doing a very good job, or these things wouldn't have got through."
What do you think they're here for?
Damned if I know. I mean, who can fathom the mind of an orc? Not me, that's for certain.
I nod.
But yeah, he says, I remember my older granddad used to tell me stories, because he used to be one of the folks up at Gallonmeet. He used to tell me stories about the last time there was an orc horde came down. And he described them to me, so I knew what they were. But he used to say that they used to keep them on the other side of the mountain. And like, let's face it, no one goes over the mountains into the orc lands. Well, why would you want to? I mean, there's got to be a reason they're called the orc lands, right?
I have a query, John. Would you say that some of this this game is something of value?
Sorry, you've lost me. Please repeat the question.
Would the game that we've still got, like the rabbits, would they still be classified as something of value?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Certainly in your current climb, they're very valuable.
Good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of the game, something intact, like half a rabbit or one of the other ones, and instead of putting it into a pot or something like that, I'm going to actually throw it onto the flames.
As you throw it on the fire, one of the humans is like, "Whoa, what are you doing? Don't waste it."
I was going to pray to my god to make sure the storm doesn't get any worse.
Daniel's like, when you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to pray to the
Yeah,
gods.
a
It's
lot
like,
of good that will do.
I hate
But
to
what
say
I'm
it, but I'm with
actually
you,
going to
barbarian.
do, what I'm actually going to be praying about is the orison for guidance. So basically, I'm going to ask Kavresh whether I should be truthful about Henrietta or keep stum.
Okay, make your roll for that if you have to.
It's an advanced move. It doesn't mention anything about that.
If it doesn't mention a roll, just read what it says.
It just says, when you sacrifice something of value to your deity and pray for guidance, your deity tells you what it would have you do. If you do it, mark experience.
Okay, so mark experience.
Okay.
As you...
What happens if your deity is fictional?
Yeah. Well, everything in this universe is
I was
fictional.
going to say all of the deities
Yeah,
are
no, I
fictional.
know within the game world, but yeah. I know
Okay,
within the game world, but yeah.
You throw the rabbit into the fire, and as you do so, to your eyes only, Dirk, as it's like instantly consumed all but the skeleton, the skull, still with a few bits of flesh sizzling on it, turns towards you, and this deep rumbling voice echoes from it, and it says, many thousands of years ago, there was a city beyond the mountains to the east that dared defy the gods, and they were cursed for it.
What does this have to do with the woman who I killed?
The sort of smoke starts hissing out from the skull that only you seem to be able to see. And then it says, those who defy the gods are twisted, their forms changed, and they are cast down. Know this, Dirkir.
Okay, I sort of say a prayer or a creed, that kind of thing. I think I get what he means, but he's being super cryptic as always.
And then there's this low laughter, like when you communed via the boar's skull, and the skull actually appears to collapse into powder, into the fire, and is consumed. As far as the rest of you are concerned, Dirkir throws this rabbit on the fire. It flares up, burning all the flesh off it. Then Dirkir sort of stares at the skeleton for a bit, and the skeleton just like collapses into powder and ash.
Can we hear Dirk's
At least
question?
a good meal.
Yeah, you can hear Dirkir's side of the conversation.
Okay. Milo just stands puzzled, looking at him. He's speaking.
I
with
don't
the
understand
flame.
him either.
He's speaking with the flame too.
Yes, as I said, I was praying for the storm to not get worse.
That prayer doesn't seem to have necessarily been heeded as the sort of snow's howling outside, but who can tell what tomorrow may bring?
Milo will attempt once more and kind of like yank at Dirk's chain shirt, giving him pleading eyes.
There may be more to this than we think. We are keeping silent for now.
You hear Dowd's voice from outside. Obviously, she's still sat in the cart. She's like, I think this thing's getting cold. Can I bring it in?
Of course. I didn't realize she was still out there.
I'm freezing
Yes,
my
he
beard off out here.
We are horrible people. We left her
So's
outside.
Rufus. He's thinking, are they
I thought
dead?
she came in with us. I didn't realize.
I was hiding out in the
No,
woods.
she didn't come in because she was like, oh, if the combat breaks out, I don't be stood there with like a baby in my arms. Like,
Right,
Guys?
right.
Yeah,
She was smoking the pipe. That's what she was doing. I ain't falling for it.
and in fact, she does have a pipe like grip between her teeth as she comes in, like carrying this baby that's all like wrapped up in these blankets. It seems to, judging by the fact it's not crying, perhaps it's gone to sleep. And she sort of walks in, sort of carrying it very awkwardly, like she's obviously not accustomed to like carrying children, and like looks like she's worried she's going to break it. So like,
I swear again. It was.
Maybe one of them knows something about child rearing. They don't look like soldiers to me.
Oh, that's a good idea, Glog. She says, and she sort of holds out this baby in front of her again like it's some sort of unexploded bomb, and says, "Do any of you want this small human?"
I'm going to stand up behind her and just sort of try and strike an intimidating pose to, maybe silently dare them to turn her down. Or
Milo's gonna go and take the Rufus child from her.
Whoa!
She quite gladly lets you take the child, Milo.
But you adopted him.
That's not how it works, Milo.
The papers were signed and everything.
That's no. I don't know if that's how it works in Halfling country, but
as you say that, Rufus,
looking at
one of the humans suddenly goes, "Whoa! Where did you come from?"
Hey, Rufus. Nice to meet you. I was keeping an eye outside. Someone's got to keep watch.
Yeah, I suppose so. And
Milo takes the child and goes over to the humans.
The humans. They have names.
Well, they are humans. We know that one's called Daniel and one's called Richard, but that's about it.
Humanity.
Yeah. Does he recognize the human called Daniel?
You suspect he's like the leader who originally came out to speak to you, based on what?
Okay.
Well, I even asked him, "Are you Daniel?" So.
Okay. So Milo goes over to Daniel and kind of stands in front of him and lifts the child up a little.
He says,
"Please take this baby."
He says, "Oh, thank you." And he says, "I'm not really sure. My wife used to." And then his voice falls silent as he like pulls the sort of swaddling blanket down a little bit and sees the face of this child. And he's like, "Oh my god, it's my daughter." I thought, and you see like tears running down his face. I thought she was dead. I thought the orcs. Where did you find her?
We took her from an orc, and I figured it was your daughter.
You can see like tears are just like running down his face now, and he's sort of clutching this child to his chest, and he says, "But I left her with Henriette. But please tell me, have you seen anything of my wife? After all, if my daughter survived, perhaps she survived as well." And you see like hopes in his eyes sort of lighting up as he's got this pleading look in his face as he's like looking at you, Milo.
Yeah, notice my hashtags from earlier. Clark, Destroyer of Hope.
I seem to remember Dirk jumping forward to take credit for that kill. So
Milo looks at him with his big sad halfling eyes. "I'm sorry," and he pats his big hand with his small hand.
What do you mean you're sorry?
Henrietta is dead.
He staggers backwards and almost like sort of falls onto his arse as though your news has hit him like a physical blow. One of his friends, the guy identified as Robert, sort of like catches him and helps him sit down, make sure he doesn't drop his daughter. And Robert sort of takes the child off him as he sat there with his head in his hands, and he says, I suppose I knew it really. I didn't think. I mean, it's a miracle my daughter survived, but." And he sobs a little as his voice trails off into silence. His friend Robert sort of puts one hand holding the child, puts a hand on his shoulder, and he's like, don't worry, we'll make sure we get some vengeance for your wife, my friend.
And care for your daughter. Milo looks at him.
Of course. Although precious little I can offer. I mean, the life of an outlaw and a bandit's no life for a child.
Well, I mean, the mayor in Gallenmead says that we are big heroes, so maybe you can go there and say you come from us.
As you say that, like the look of sadness on his face is briefly replaced by a look of anger, and he just sort of like slams his hand down onto the floor, and he says, "Gallon meat, the fools up there. If they were doing their job, these orcs wouldn't have got through the pass in the first place. It's their fault that Henrietta died."
So then maybe you should go teach them how to do that job.
Maybe a charisma roll, Glog.
Oh, yeah, sure. -1, I think. Unless I can intimidate. Oh, look, it had a natural 11, so 10.
Okay, as you say that, you see he pulls himself to his feet, stands up, and he goes, "Maybe you're right, my friend. Maybe they do need a cold dash in the face of reality. I think far too long they've all been sat up there idle, going, oh, well, we're never going to see another orc attack in our time. What does it matter? I tell you what it matters. If they're not vigilant, orcs are sneaking through."
Sound idea.
But I don't understand how much of this works, he says to Daniel. But Dirk here says that garage leads us through the flame. So maybe that's why we found the baby and brought her to you. And now it's up to you to take her to Gallonmead.
He steps close to you and he sort of like puts his hand gently on your shoulder, Milo, and he says, "My friend, I appreciate that you're trying to give me comfort in these cold times. But if there is a god or gods who watch over us all, then it's the same god or gods that allowed those monsters to kill my wife. How can I believe in a god that allows that to happen?"
The gods don't work like that. Mog provides the weather. It is up to us to do with it as we please. He does not control our actions.
He turns and looks at you, and again he's almost got like a pleading look in his face, and he says, "Well, if someone knows how the gods works, then perhaps they'd consider damn well telling the rest of us."
We do try. But people are strong-willed. They have their own opinions.
You can see the weather for yourself every day. Where do you think it comes from?
I don't know. Like I said, I was a simple farmer before my crops failed. I never really thought about it too much, to be honest. He turns to the rest of his companions and he says, "In the morning, men, we're making for Gallonmead. Get whatever provisions you can carry. We're going to be moving as quickly as possible. For the night, though, especially since you've returned my darling daughter to me, you are all more than welcome to take shelter with us and share our fires. Perhaps you can tell us a little bit about your own journeys, although I fear our stories will be scant payment in return. Tales of banditry and robbing merchants aren't really the stuff of legend, I'm afraid."
Dirk is currently looking around the fire to see if there are any bottles of stiff drink.
There are a couple of bottles of like moonshine.
Okay, yeah, he yanks one of the moonshine and just starts like guzzling it down.
Before settling down to the fire, Rufus, being a practical, pragmatic man and not of magical means or transformative properties, is going to get some odds and ends around camp if you can find any, and try and maybe set up a few like traps and like snares kind of things, just to alert them if there is anything moving around out there. He's a little bit suspicious that this thing is on its own, just wandering about the countryside.
So while Milo's doing that, as you guys settle down, is there anything else you guys want to do before you go to sleep and rest for the night?
I am going to tell them a few stories. I'm going to like show them, I got this scar from
Tell them about the boar.
Big boar and this scar from an orc and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Why don't you tell them the story of the greatest thing you've ever fought so far, Glag?
I can tell them
is it a creature from your homeland? From your homeland, eh?
Yes, and I show them the armor. The armor I'm wearing.
Okay, make me a
This is the hide of a white worm.
Glog. See how impressive your story is.
Sure.
And you basically receive a +1 because
12.
Dowdrika is like
13
chipping in and like, oh yeah, he's well impressive. Oh, and he did this and he did that. sort of backing you up.
Excellent.
So as you tell these stories of what
13.
you're daring do, everyone around the fire is absolutely enthralled by these tales. Like I say, they're just farmers who've turned to banditry, whereas you're talking about fighting white worms and wrestling giant razor boars and fighting like stone men. And they're all literally like leaning forward, like on the edge of their seats as you're telling these stories. You can see their faces reflected in the fire as they're sort of looking at you eagerly, eating up these tales that you're telling them.
Yeah, I let them touch some of the armor. Like it's not a complete. It doesn't completely cover me. It kind of covers my shoulders on one side, and I tell them about the white worm, and I let them. This was its hide, part of its shell, and how it's really, really hot inside and really cold on the outside.
One of them says, "Oh, I'll tell you what. If we had a few dozen of people like you at Gallon meet, I'd out those green-skinned devils that have made it across the mountains."
I tried to give them some lessons, but they were stubborn to learn.
Well, Clark is telling his story. Milo will sit next to Dirk here and kind of wait until Dirk seems to have drunken enough of this foul-smelling water that he's drinking. And he will... So, was that right about the fire? That was what you said, right?
I have not yet interpreted Kavrash's words properly yet.
No, but you said with him leading you through the fire. That is what you said, right?
Yes, it is what I said.
Mine or not. So, that's good, right? I mean,
Yes.
we did good.
I suppose. Only time will tell now.
Mine or not. And bit confused with the synonym. Yeah. Well.
Okay, so as you all start settling down for the night, you've been setting up your traps, Rufus. Can you please make me a roll plus wisdom?
I'll take myself on mute as well. Do I have any wisdom? No, I don't. So that's just a 6, John.
Okay, so you can all gain an XP. Okay, so I'm assuming you're all taking various watches at certain points during the evening. So, Glog, as you're on your watch, can you please make me a roll plus wisdom?
Doing it.
Mm-hmm.
7, straight up 7.
Okay, not a problem. Okay, so as you're on watch, Glog, you hear this in this strange sort of wintry landscape that seems to have been transformed by this gift that Morg has bestowed from the skies. Everyone else is sort of snoring away and sleeping inside the cave. You hear this low, sonorous moaning, this
Coming from which direction? Just like the wind?
It appears to be coming off from the west of you beyond a small mound of hillocks. You have like ample time to like notify other people if you wish.
I want to. Can I just? And I'm happy with vague on this.
Mm-hmm.
How far away this thing might be? Like, are we talking 100 feet or 100 yards?
You think it's about 60 foot just beyond the hill.
Oh, okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out my axe and I'm going to go over to like a large cooking pot and I'm going to swing my axe flat side first, so bang, right off the cooking pot.
Okay, so you're all like instantly awakened by this. Glog like smashes his axe into the cooking pot. all the
Oh.
bandits are like sort of
There's
scrambling
something
to their
out
feet,
there.
trying to get their shit together.
There's something
Oh.
out there. Seems to be approaching.
What?
Be
How
ready.
big?
As
I
you're,
don't know.
as you're like the first out there, Glog, 'cause obviously you're the most ready. You see from beyond this hillock, you see this figure of this human woman, a long black hair being blown behind her by the wind. And as she moves closer, you realise that she's semi-transparent. You can see the hill through her body as she like moves towards you. Her hands out outstretched, this low moaning emanating.
Okay, well, I've got to know if she's if she can be hurt, if she's somewhat incorporeal. So long before she gets to me, hopefully, I'm just going to throw a dagger at her, and I'm just trying to. I don't really care about damage. I want to see if it bounces off her, or goes through her. That's what I'm trying to determine.
Okay, no problem. You throw this dagger at her, and it literally passes straight through her and clatters to the ground behind her.
Shit.
The rest of you are obviously all awake because Glog's woke you. Some of the bandits are like coming out. A couple of them like fire crossbows off in the direction of this woman.
Some kind of spirit. Weapons don't seem to hurt.
You hear this horrified voice from behind you of Daniel going, Henrietta? And this woman holds out her arms towards him and she's like, Daniel, my darling Daniel, I'm so cold. When you come to me, and almost as though he's in like some kind of a trance, he starts like just like walking towards her, his arms falling down by his side.
Milo will shapeshift into a bear and try to hold him back in a bear hug.
Make your shape-shifting roll.
Yeah, and if that doesn't work, I'm just going to punch him in the side of the head as he tries to walk past me.
The land is cursed. I fail. It's the same thing, John. You have to say something.
Okay, so
that
once
happens,
again,
and I get one hold.
You're in your tiny bear form.
Ewok.
So you run forward, and as you get to this guy and you're sort of looking up at him, you realise that like your bear hug of his lower leg probably isn't going to cut it. Can you make me a strength roll, Glog, as he's sort of moving past you?
Yes. So what I'm doing is I'm just like sucker punching him, like not without even looking. I'm just like off to the side.
Not a problem.
7.
Don't forget you get an XP for that, Dennis, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so look, as he walks past without even looking at him, you're just like and try to knock him out, and he falls to his side in the snow. The woman, this spectre, turns her face towards you, and as she does, she screams, and her face shrivels into this emaciated skull with scraps of ectoplasmic flesh hanging down from this loud scream echoes across the land. The wind appears to pick up around her, throwing the snow up into the air.
Okay, well, I am Hammer, and I see a nail. So I'm going to charge and swing my axe at the skull. I'm going to try and cleave it in two. That's my goal.
Okay, not a problem. Make your strength roll.
9.
Okay, you swing your hammer at her. It passes straight through her.
Even to the skull, eh? Shit.
Indeed.
Okay.
As you do so, she like reaches out and places a hand on your shoulder, and you take 1 point of damage as like this numbing cold that seems to penetrate right to your bones, like seeps into your shoulder, and she only lightly touches your shoulder with this now skeletal twisted hand.
Okay.
Okay, Rufus, what about you?
I'll mute myself. So how wide is this cave mouth? Can I get out into this?
The cave mouth's about 10 foot wide. You can easily squeeze around people. That's not a problem.
And this is just a pure skeleton now.
It's still sort of semi-transparent, but instead of just being like a normal woman that you can see through, it now looks like this horrible, like skeletal version. All like the flesh has shrunk around the bones. She seems to be moving forward. As you look, you can see that underneath her sort of like flowing dress, this transparent gauzy dress, you see her feet are sort of dangling like that. She's actually hovering about 2 inches above the floor as she's slowly moving forward. You watch as she runs a skeletal hand over Glog's shoulder, and he's like, "Arr!" As you see like Frostbird appear on his shoulder.
And it's bright. It's white outside. It's snowing.
Indeed.
So stealth is not really an option for Rufus right now. Okay.
The only advantage you have is at the moment she seems to be, whatever it is, appears to be intent on Glog.
Right. So Rufus will take a moment and he'll have a little discussion with himself, which is along the lines of what would Sanya do. So he glances around for like a wooden brand or maybe like a hot poker. I don't know how well outfitted these bandits are.
So
Something. Sorry, John.
What are you looking for? Sorry.
Something that I can set a fire. Something like a brand, a torch.
Yeah, there'll be. There's obviously wood around because they built a fire. There's like furs, etc. There's a couple of like traveling bags.
Right, I'm gonna light a torch.
The intention. Light a torch and return to the cave map. Durka, what are you doing?
Yeah, Dirk is a bit torn about what to do because, of course, he wants to go out and fight this thing if the majority are going to do so, but this is a spectre, and he knows the spectres are dangerous and unpredictable, and if she sees him, then he's very worried that she'll just go all out for him, and he can't really do anything about it, except, well, would she classify as undead?
Seems pretty undead to me.
Fair enough.
It's got undead written through it like a stick of undead rock.
It can differ from
it's wearing a t-shirt that says "I am undead."
Okay, so I'm gonna sort of gingerly lean out of the cave and hold up my symbol, and call on Kavrash for protection. So I do a roll plus my wisdom.
Go for it.
Okay, I got 7 again. On a 7+, unless you continue to pray and brandish your holy symbol, no undead may come within reach of you.
Okay, so you guys hear this like low, almost like throat singing sort of prayer as Durkir steps out of the cave holding this glowing hammer symbol in front of him. And as you draw close to this thing, you can see it sort of it lets out this shriek, and it's almost so it's like pushed back by some sort of invisible force. And as it's pushed back, it snarls out in this now quite sort of rasping and inhuman voice. It's like, "Where is my child and my husband? Give them to me."
So I'm just like hoping it'd solidify at some point.
You can see it appears to be sort of like trying to look around you, Glog, obviously seeing Daniel lying on the floor, but it can't get closer because Dirk is stood there holding this like hammer symbol up that's glowing with this sort of golden light.
Go back to the realm of the dead.
It dives forward a couple of times, but it's almost like it hits an invisible wall and it snarls at you. Milo, what are you doing? As you hear Dirk shout, "Go back to the land of the dead."
So Daniel is knocked out, right?
Yep. He wasn't really
He's
expecting
right
Glog
in
just
there.
to be like poof around the side of his face.
Okay, so Milo's gonna grab him by some of his fur or some of his clothing and kind of like bite down to it and pull him back into the cave.
Okay.
Nice.
You start dragging him back into the cave. Okay, Rufus, you've got your torch. You can see Dirk here sort of like warding it off. This thing's still snarling and sort of hovering there. Its clothing, this ectoplasmic clothing, being whipped about by the winds. The straggly bits of hair that remain clinging to its skull, likewise whipping about its face as the wind and the snow appear to have picked up around it. What do you do, Rufus? Hopefully it begins with unmuting yourself. I like to imagine that's your expression, Rufus.
Screen capture that for sure.
Sorry, man, it's all been recorded. Okay, so whilst he's thinking about it, Glog, what are you doing?
All right. Well, my weapons don't seem to affect this. I'm going to run into where we had a fire going. I'm just going to reach in, grab a stick, and then run back and see if that does anything.
Okay, are you throwing it or are you just like waving it about?
The stick, I'm trying to like swing it through her.
Okay.
Hopefully the fire might do something. The weapon doesn't. Steel doesn't.
You swing it through and it appears to momentarily like displace her sort of gauzy outline, but it doesn't appear to cause her any actual harm.
Okay, well, I'm not that smart, so.
The creature turns its blazing eyes towards you, Durko, and it's like, and what would you know about the lands of the dead, little priest?
I stand firm.
Can you walk closer? Like, is it an aura?
Oh yes, yeah. I can walk closer.
As long as Durko does like nothing but pray and hold out this symbol, he can move around. It's like a sphere a protection that like moves with him.
Yeah, I was originally wanting her to not see my face, but since she knows who I am, it's like, okay, I'll just continue to walk forward.
You move forward and it's sort of like circling around you, obviously not able to get through this protective aura around you, and it says, "You'll have to stop at some point, priest. Whereas I do not need to sleep. The dead do not need to rest. I will have what is mine."
How do we kill this thing?
I have to keep concentrating. I'm sort of kind of grunting and clenching my teeth.
If Milo got Daniel back in the cave, he'll revert his shape into halfling form, and kind of like pull out a pouch where Clark put the silver necklace in, and he will hold it in his hand, and he will sigh, and he will go out in the snow past the sphere of protection towards the ghost. Okay. And he will, when he gets close, he will hold up his hand and let the coin fall down.
As you move out of the sphere of protection, this spectre lets out a howl of inhuman glee, and it swoops down towards you, its hands reaching out to you. Then as you hold up this coin, it just suddenly stops and hovers in front of you. Its hands basically like a couple of inches from your head as though it was reaching out for you, and then they just stop. And its entire attention is to be focused on this coin that you're holding up.
Yeah. Milo lets out a small sigh. Remember this, Henrietta?
Make me a charisma roll. I'm going to give you a +1 bonus for the coin that you have.
Ooh, 12. No, 11.
Nice. Okay, for a moment, the spectre pauses and it shifts and transforms back so it looks more like the normal human woman, albeit still insubstantial. And in a very sad voice, it sort of reaches out its hand almost like tenderly touching the coin and then says, "Yes, I remember. My dear Daniel gave that to me before the blight came."
Before the blight. Your dear Daniel and your daughter is safe for now, but if you keep doing this, they won't be safe. Remember who you were, Henrietta. You do want them to be safe, right?
The woman looks at you and you see translucent tears running down her cheeks, and as they fall off her face, they turn into tiny crystals of ice and drop into the snow. And in a very sad voice, the ghostly woman says, "I cannot rest."
You can rest. The land will take you back. Here, and he holds out the necklace towards her.
As you say, the land will let you rest. Her face twists into anger and again turns into this skull, the eyes blazing, and it says, "The land did this to me."
Milo steps back a few steps, with his face being completely pale and fried.
Okay, so while this conversation is going on, Rufus, what are you doing?
Now that I can mute myself, Rufus has been heating up one of his daggers with the torch.
Okay.
A story that Sanya told him that the fire has like a spirit.
Okay, I think we might have lost Rufus again. He's obviously really paying attention to heating his dagger up. So
seems that way.
So Glog, what are you
It's
doing?
not hot enough yet. Well, I'm not sure what I can do, really. The most effective thing I've seen so far, other than this protection ward, is Milo. So I'm going to try and stand beside Milo and block this thing if it tries to make a move towards it. I don't have any way that I know of to hurt it. So
okay, this thing, as it snarls, "The land did this to me," it reaches out a now skeletal hand towards Milo. You dive in the way, Glog. Its hand touches your chest, and again you feel this frost burn as you take 2 wounds as it touches you. However, as it touches you, Glog, for a few moments you're no longer stood in this clearing. You're back in the small woodcutter's cottage you visited earlier, but now it's all pristine, nothing's smashed. You can see the ghostly woman now as a normal farmer's wife in this hut tending to her small child. You see her, she's coughing quite badly. She looks quite sort of ill and pallid. She walks over and says, "Oh, here you go, my darling, I've got some milk for you." Then she looks down at this milk, and she sort of, as you're sort of looking over her shoulder, you can see it's got this horrible greasy film on it. And then sort of experimentally she takes a sip of it herself. Then she doubles over as though she's in pain, and as you watch her, you hear her bones cracking almost as though she's having some kind of seizure. And as you watch, you see her skin bulging and transforming into this horrible grey green of the orc that you fought earlier. And you watch as her sort of screaming, she throws the cup down and it clatters to the floor, spilling the grey milk everywhere. You see her scream, and she stands up, her dress tearing as her muscles are bulging through it. She looks down at the child, and for a moment you feel the anger and the urge to just kill everything within reach sort of building up in her. But with a last ounce of free will, she smashes some of the furniture instead, and she goes running out of the building. And then suddenly you're stood back in front of the cart. This ghost, sort of now once again looking like a normal human, draws its hand back from your chest.
So I say to her, I kind of almost scream it at her. "I know the land made you sick. We're trying to fix it. You're not helping. We're trying to keep your daughter, your husband, and everyone else alive. You're interfering."
She looks at you almost sadly and nods, and then says, I wish I could rest."
"I don't know how to help you."
She nods almost sadly, and still having this sort of momentary connection with her. As it fades, Glog, you can feel this sort of anger that seems to always be threatening to overwhelm her, as she sort of pulls her hand back and nods sadly.
"Rest knowing that what did this to you is being looked into, and it will be resolved. You needn't seek this vengeance for yourself. Others are doing it now."
She smiles sadly, and she looks between you and Milo and then says, I wish the land would let me rest."
"We're doing what we can." "Do you wish to continue to stop us from trying to fix it, you would be damning yourself forever,
All I know
as
is
well
that,
as condemning your husband and child.
as you say that, she sort of reels back a bit as though she's been struck, and then says, "All I know is that whilst until I can rest, I must have my husband and child."
You will kill them if you try. You cannot help them anymore.
Make
You
me
can
a
only bring them pain.
Make me a charisma roll, Glog. You get a +1 bonus.
All right, good luck. That cancels my -1. 8. All right, lucked out.
Okay, she floats backwards a few paces. She nods at you silently, and she begins sobbing. And as she starts crying, her tears falling as ice to the snow, she slowly begins to fade away until she's completely disappeared. Her sobbing echoing through the area for a good minute after she disappears.
As she's fading, I'm going to say to her, if you're looking for someone to haunt the orcs. If anyone's behind it, they are. I don't know if that did any good, but it made me feel good.
Milo turns to Glock. I don't think that's right.
Why orcs then? Why else would the land be turning into orcs? It must be something the orcs did to the land to make this happen. Why else would they want people to be orcs?
I don't know, but the fire told Durkan that it was man, and the spirit told me that it was my people.
Can you make me a spout law roll, please, Milo? So that's a roll plus intelligence.
Okay.
Whatever it is, it was you that pointed us to the correct defense.
10.
Okay, as you're saying this to Glog, Milo, you remember that ridiculous old legend that Rufus was talking about, where he was talking about some ancient city that defied the gods, and he thought it was the elves and they were somehow cursed for it.
Yeah, Rufus said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There was a crime being done. Remember when Rufus told us about the ancient ruins?
I don't really listen to what Rufus says.
There's something happened, but there's something bad happened that violated the natural flow.
Something at these ruins happened that caused this. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
You know that
where are these ruins?
In the legend that Rufus talked about, Milo, he was talking about like a great city, like a very ancient city, like hundreds of thousands of years ago, that defied the gods, and like this entire area was like cursed for their hubris.
I don't know. Maybe we can look into that. But I don't think it was the orcs.
Whatever is behind this is trying to make more orcs. That's not good for any of us.
No, but I think we should let Daniel go back to Gallonmead, and I think we should go back to the hut and bury the remains of Henrietta. That is what you do, right?
Of course.
I think maybe that is the right thing to do.
That's a long way out of our ways, backtracking just to bury someone who's already dead.
She will not be arrested until we bury her.
You don't know that. She's gone.
But she's not gone. She's still wandering the earth.
Yeah, I think she will.
Gone from here.
Yeah, but I think she'll
be back.
Dirk is yeah.
Let us not prolong our task. We've got to get to Pondmount.
She's right in that I cannot hold her off forever. I cannot simply pray to Kavrash for the rest of my days to keep her away from you.
You don't have to. We've convinced her that it is not in her benefit to attack us. I say we carry on to Pondmount.
But for the time being, her pain will bring her back to Daniel and the baby.
The undead are not convinced in the same way as the living are, Glarg.
Fine, but if we run short of rations, I'm eating your share.
Okay.
Fine.
Okay, so a few, sort of like 10 minutes later, Daniel's slowly like recovering himself. When he wakes up, he actually, although he appears very shaken by his experience, he actually thanks you, Larg. He says, I don't know what happened. It was almost like I wasn't in control of myself. I couldn't help but walk forward.
It's not the first time I've seen people acting beyond their own control.
He sort of shakes you warmly by the hand and he says, well, the gods be praised that you were there, my friend. Otherwise, I'd have, whatever that thing was that looked like my wife, I'd have just walked to it like a lamb to the slaughter.
Take your baby and go back to Gallonmead and straighten them up.
We will. And the next morning, the snow is...
What about the rest of us?
The snow has lightened off slightly the next morning when you all awaken. There's been no further incidents during the evening. You see that Daniel and his group, along with his child, are making ready. He looks at all of you and he says, well, I'd like to say it's been a pleasure, my friends, but we're heading north to Gallonmead. If the gods will, maybe we'll meet again.
Maybe Durkin can write you a letter so that they know you come from us.
If you think that'd help, he looks at you, Durkin.
I need to rest first, and then I will go.
Isn't it morning? Did we just wake up?
Yeah, you've all woke up in the morning. It's...
Oh, so
by
we
the
have
way,
some extra sleep.
I need to ask a rules question. How does natural healing work in this game?
You get half your hit points left.
Yeah, you get half your maximum hit points back.
And because
Thank you.
because of the durability, you get half plus 4, as I just rolled on the d6.
Okay, thanks. Excellent.
And indeed,
Healthy.
as you all wake up, you see that as the snow... You'd have probably got used to this, given that you all sort of slept near Milo on several previous occasions. As you wake up, like I say, the snow has sort of slightly lessened in the morning, and you can see that new, fresh growth, sort of healthy-looking plants seem to have sprung up almost overnight. Only little sort of like shoots and leaves, but they're sort of poking through the snow in like a small radius around this cave where you've all been sleeping. A couple
And they're healthy looking, you say?
Yeah, they're quite healthy looking. A couple of Daniel's companions are like looking down at these plants and they're like, oh, that's weird. These weren't here last night when we bedded down.
So I kind of tap Milo on the arm. See? A good sign. Let's get this bearing business over with.
Well then, my friends, we're heading north to Gallonmead. The gods be willing, our paths may cross again. Stay safe, all of you. Be careful.
Good luck.
And to you, my friend.
I hand him the necklace before he goes. I think this belongs to you.
He takes it off you, looks at it, and then he actually sort of like gives you like a massive sort of manly hug, Milo. And you see him like fasten the necklace around his own neck, and he says, thank you, my friend. Well, be well, all of you. And him and his associates start heading to the north towards Gallonmead. Now, would I do that, Rob? Would I do that?
What did we talk about last time about feeding the GM ideas?
Well, be amusing to me too. So we'll head for this shed against Glarg's better judgment.
Okay, so you guys track back to this small woodcutter's cottage. You can see the corpse of the orc is covered by snow, but it's still there from the hump underneath the snow.
As we get there, I'm going to take the little spade we have amongst our gear, and I'm just going to go over and I'm just going to hand it to Dirkia.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect me to dig.
Oh, I just do everything around here.
Dowdrika jumps out and says, I don't mind giving you a hand. It's right and proper that we honour the dead.
It is indeed. Thank you.
You're welcome. And the two of you...
Milo will shapeshift into a badger and help dig the hole.
I'm not going to make you make a roll for that. You shapeshift into a badger and help them dig the hole. Between the three of you, it's dug very quickly, and you lower the body of this orc into the hole. And then presumably cover it over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'll have Dirk can say some words, and then we will move on.
Okay, and you start making your way back towards the town of Pondmount. So, can I ask whoever's driving to please make me an intelligence roll? I don't know which of you wants to drive.
Anybody?
Go on,
Okay,
Rufus. Go on, Rufus.
I'll
take
do
the
it.
reins. Make that intelligence
So
roll.
it's just 2d6.
2d6 plus intelligence.
I
26
have,
down the line.
I have a minus intelligence, guys, but let's go with it. Let's do it. So that would have been a natural 12, but it's an 11.
Okay, that's fine. You make a good time, and the rest of your journey to Pondmount is fairly uneventful. As you start arriving on the outskirts, you can see it's this large town. There's quite a lot of your normal sort of houses in it. There's a small pond or small lake, more like, by the side of it. You can see on the outskirts of what looks like there must have once been large swathes of agricultural land, although much of it lies untilled now, and you don't see any farmers working in the fields as you approach Pondmount.
Strange. But then if the land is tainted, maybe they realised and thought there was no point.
Perhaps.
Okay. As you reach the outskirts of Pondmount, you can see that on the outskirts of it, there's a number of guards spaced around it. They're wearing chainmail. There's a mixture of humans and dwarves. As you approach down this sort of dirt track that Rufus has managed to locate, and you've followed fairly safely to Pondmount, one of the guards steps forward, holds up a hand, and says, "Oh there, strangers."
What?
What business do you have in Pondmount?
Important business. We're here to solve a problem you're having with the land.
Aye, you hear about the blight then, sir? He says, sort of lowering his hand as you're approaching.
Yes.
Good, goody.
All the way in gallon meat.
My God, the blight's made it to gallon meat?
We've seen signs. Food gone bad. Spoiled when it should be fresh.
Quickly, come with me. Are you healers, apothecaries? He says, sort of raising an eyebrow as he looks at Glog.
Problem solvers.
Well,
Oh, no, good as any.
Rufus, can you please make me a charisma roll?
It's a total of 6, John.
Okay. The guard looks at you and he says, "Wait a minute, haven't..." He looks at you, Rufus. He says, "Wait a minute, did I know your face from somewhere?"
Unlikely. I do have one of those faces, though.
Oh well, I'm sure it'll come to me. Well, if you think you can do anything about the blight, you're welcome to Pondmount. Let them through. And the other guards shout back.
Who should we talk to in charge here? Who's in charge?
You need to talk to Lord Gould.
And where is he?
He's currently in the town hall with some of the farmers. They're trying to work out what approach to take about the blight. I dare say they'll not come up with anything. After all, they've had so many of these meetings. And he leans in a bit closer and he says, not to speak ill of my superior, he says, Lord Gould's a good man, but he's a trader and a merchant at heart. He's not really a
yes.
man
That's why
of
we're
action,
here,
so to speak. Don't get me wrong. He's fine when the trade's flowing through and keeping everything moving, keeping the spices moving and that. But
yes. Town hall. Thank you.
oh, sorry, and he lets you past. He says, just follow the main street. It's the large round central building. And you guys continue through Pondmount. Are you heading straight to the town hall?
Yes, the spice must flow.
Indeed.
More guards that don't seem... You should be guarding more and talking less.
Okay, you head up to this central round building, like a sort of roundhouse. It's not difficult to find. It's probably the largest building in this town of Pondmount. You can see there's got quite a large crowd gathered around it. There's a man wearing very fine clothes. He's slightly portly. He's stood outside. This angry crowd of what look like farmers and labourers are stood around it. They're all like shouting. Someone going, "Oh, my crops have withered. I haven't got enough food to feed my family. What are you doing about it?" And this man has stood on a crate wearing this finery. He's like, please, everyone, calm down. I dispatched a rider to Gallonmeet a day ago. Hopefully they should be sending some help to us soon. With any luck, they'll know what to do. One of them says, "Oh, it's old Southam's doing. You mark my words." Look, there's no need to say that. I know we've had our differences with old Southam, but I've sent a messenger to North Tinbridge as well. Hopefully they can send some help. They've got apothecaries there. We just have to stick it out. We've got unspoiled supplies in the town. Everyone, just stay calm.
So I'm going to turn to my companions. Do you want to talk to them or should I? Good then. I pat Dirkie on the back. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to recommend you since you're such a straight talker.
These
But
people annoy me.
I'm a man of the cloth. Maybe they will listen.
Okay, so what are you saying, Dirkie?
Well, obviously we don't know the real reason behind it. We just know that it's sick. But I tell them that that like there's more land that's sick than they think, and Gallonmead is also tainted. The blight have gone there as well.
Okay, make me a roll plus charisma.
Oh goody! Well done for picking me then. Oh, and that was a terrible roll as well. That is a 3.
Racking up the XP anyway.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Okay, so as you're saying this, like the crowd, as you relate to them, like, oh, Gallonmead that you thought was safe, or the blight's there as well. But that doesn't have the effect of calming the crowd down. In fact, one of them basically takes out what appears to be a small tobacco pouch from his pocket and just hurls it. It hits this Lord Gould smack on the side of his face, knocking him backwards as he falls backwards off this box.
I wasn't intending to calm them down. I was trying to inform them.
Yeah, you have informed them, and they're just like, "Oh, you've not really done anything. You're telling us Gallonmead's safe now. Gallonmead's gone as well." Someone just, as is the case with these mob scenes, someone throws something, and immediately the crowd goes berserk. God.
So I'm going to openly start laughing. Maybe you should talk to them, Milo. Seem to be good at calming people down.
As Glog's laughing up, the crowd surges forward with this sort of mob mentality towards where Lord Gould is trying to pick himself up and dust himself down. Guards rushing around him with their sort of spears and their weapons, trying to hold the crowd back. But the sheer weight of numbers of this crowd is pushing against these guards, and they're slowly being forced back with look, get behind us, Lord Gould, get behind us, as they're being pushed back towards this roundhouse.
Okay, Milo will turn into a bear and roar across the
Nice.
Make me a
the
shape change
courtyard.
roll.
Yeah,
And don't get a 6 or below.
I did get a 9 this time. Whee!
Okay, so you turn into this large bear and you let out this roar. The crowd immediately falls silent. Like some of them are like in mid punch, like getting ready to punch you, and they're like, as this huge bear's like, "Roar."
Okay, so now he has the attention. He will shapeshift back to the halfling form.
Everyone's
And
still
he'll
like,
walk-
open mouth, like looking in your direction. Like,
I'm gonna pick him up and like put him on my shoulders so he like stands tall above the crowd, easy to see.
nice.
Okay, he will get up on Glark's shoulder. Hello, my name is Milo. I come from the great forest to the east. We're working to make the land not sick anymore.
Everyone's still sort of staring open mouthed at you. She's like sat on top of this like barbarian, like with your arms rested on his head.
It's Master Blaster.
That's it, exactly.
That's it.
We we understand that you're hungry and
One of them goes,
confused.
"We're not hungry, we're starving, we've got no food."
Shut up and listen.
But we'll figure this out and we'll get the land healthy again. Until we do, you need to share what you have so no one will starve.
As you're saying this, Lord Gold taps one of the guards on his shoulder and he says, go into the town hall, take what rations we have there and begin distributing them amongst the crowd. The soldier says, are you sure you'll be safe, sir? That crowd looks as though it could still turn ugly. He says, listen, they're starving. It's no wonder they're angry. I'd be angry if I was in their place. You heard my command. Go inside the town hall. Take what rations we have. If you have to break into our emergency supplies, do so. But start distributing them amongst the crowd. These people need to be fed. At which point a couple of the soldiers head in. They come out with some like dried rations that they start like passing around the crowd, which seems to like mollify them a little bit. And a few of the sort of outlying members start to like disperse and return to their homes.
If I don't know how successful my hunting was on the way here, but I'm gonna, if I've got some surplus, I'll chuck a couple of, some game into their supplies.
Yeah, you throw some of your hunted provisions down. The people gratefully like take them along with the rations that are being distributed by the soldiers, and they're sort of saying their thanks. And slowly the crowd starts to disperse as they all like drift back to their homes. As the sort of tripartite factor of like a man who can turn into a giant bear, a huge barbarian, and the fact they've got some food sort of takes the wind out of their sails, and they all start dispersing.
All right, let's talk to this Lord, whatever his name is, and see what he knows about this. If he has any useful information about this blight.
As you're saying this, in fact, Lord Gold walks over to you guys. Obviously, you've saved him from a mob riot. And he says, "Well, strangers, you have my thanks for helping deal with that scene. I do apologise that this is the first thing you had to witness in Pondmount, but times are hard. People are angry. People are scared. We can't really blame them for their behaviour."
Well, what do you know of this blight? And don't tell me any false stories or promises. Just actual knowledge.
All we know is we've been investigating when the blight first started, and we believe it coincided with a strange group of dwarves who arrived in the settlement. It must be 2 months ago now. It started with a few small cases at first, and then at first we thought it was just the usual seasonal thing. Occasionally we do get diseases that kill crops, but nothing like this. And then, well, people started disappearing, and that's when I started taking things seriously.
We've experienced a few things ourselves. We know of at least one person who ate tainted food and turned into an orc because of it.
His eyes widen in shock as you say that. And he says, well, we have had a few raids by orcs on the outskirts, but our soldiers have managed to repel them, and now you're telling me that these might be my own people?
That seems where they're coming from. We're very far from orc lands, and we know that this can happen. Now, these dwarves, you say, that started this?
Yes, it was a...
When and where was this exactly?
It was 2.5 months ago. It was a group of armoured dwarves. He looks across and he says, God, what was the name of that dwarf lord? He the one who came through was on his way to Gallonmead. The soldier says, Lord Snowmane, sir. Yes, sir, Lord Snowmane, that was it. He's one of the generals from Gallonmead. He was travelling through here, picking up a few recruits on the way. We thought nothing of it at first, but the first case of this blight, as far as we know, happened a couple of hours after they'd left Pondmount, and then it just seems to have got worse and worse.
Was this the same guy we were at in Gallonmead?
Yes. It's
Okay.
Russell Crowe. Sorry, Kurt Russell.
Indeed, it's the white-haired, beardless dwarf who gave Milo, albeit grudgingly, the sack of 50 coins.
He had 3 recruits. He said they all came from Pondmount.
That's right.
They're quarantined now.
I see. Yes, he did take 3 youths as recruits. We have ancient oaths with Gallonmead to provide them with recruits, although we're a trading town. We don't really specialise in the military. That's why we rely on North Tinbridge and Gallonmead to provide us with our guards and training for them.
These recruits were fine when they left?
That they seemed so, to the best of my knowledge, although I didn't see them personally.
And in which field did the blight start first?
So I believe it was out by the old Jones Freehold, just to the south of the city. The reason I mentioned these dwarves is that when they arrived here, we were quite unprepared. They arrived unannounced. So old Jones volunteered to put them up on his farm. And they stayed there, gathered their recruits, and then moved on. Like I say, it was no more than a few hours after they left that the blight hit Jones' farm. And, well, we've not seen him for a week. I assumed, given the following orc raids and not knowing what you told me, that he'd been taken by the orcs, but...
We should go there.
Of course. Do you need me to send any of my guards with you?
Yes, but did it originate there and get spread to these men, or did these men transfer to the land? Probably the former, if the men were fine beforehand.
All I know is...
Yes, what men can you spare?
I can spare you a dozen of my soldiers to accompany you to the farmstead.
Good.
Although we did send out search parties for Jones after he vanished, and there's not much left at the farm. The land around it is no good for growing anything in now, but I will send a dozen of my men with you. It's the least I can do after your help here.
Probably still best we see it with our own eyes.
Oh, of course.
Well, if no one else has any ideas, we should head there.
Seems as good as anything.
He snaps his fingers and gestures some of his soldiers to come forward. A dozen of them gather around you, and he says, Sergeant, take these strangers to the old Jones Freehold. Anything they need, help them as much as you can. The sergeant nods and says, yes, of course, Lord Gould. I'll do my best. Although he looks a bit uncomfortable when the Jones Freehold is mentioned. Okay, so before you guys set off for the Jones Freehold, is there anything in particular you want to do?
I was going to say resupply, but this town can't seem to spare it. So,
is this a big town?
Yeah, it's a pretty substantial town. Yeah.
So it's more like a town than a hamlet or village.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a town.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind spending time in commune somewhere for about an hour, which allows me to regain any spells and things like that, and then I'd be in the bar drinking.
Milo will go to Rufus and pull at his cloak to get his attention.
Don't do this again, me hangouts. Right. Yeah, Rufus has been surveying the area. He's been looking at like the town, seeing what kind of condition it is, kind of get a vibe for how close this thing is to going to hell.
Okay.
When he feels the tug.
Make me a
of,
discern realities roll then, while it should be doing that.
Just
So that's roll plus wisdom.
because people are starving. I imagine there's other things going on, criminal activities. Soldiers not coming home, that kind of thing. Is that plus intelligence?
Plus wisdom.
Looting.
That's only a 4 then, John. I think that's a fail.
Okay, so as you're looking around and you've been like scouting out town, you see etched in the wall of one of the buildings. It wouldn't have meant anything to anyone else, but you recognise it in the sort of code that thieves use to mark particular places amongst themselves. And as it's basically this. It says, "Don't take any food."
First of all, double check that he interpreted that right. Don't take any food.
No, it was don't take any wood.
Is that what it said, Clark?
As you sort of check,
Don't take any fool.
As you move a bit closer, you can see that actually it appears to be a sort of tag that's been used to like mark this building. Which as you look around it, you can see it appears to be a butcher's shop, and it's effectively like marking this place as like unclean.
Huh. I'm going to call Milo over on whatever form he's currently in.
Well, Milo is already in halfling form and tugging at your skirt. So,
what is it, Milo? You all right?
Should you ask for like the coin you want?
Yes, we will, but now is not the time.
But he said that he should give us anything you want.
Yeah, but this town, I mean, you've probably not been to this kind of settlement before.
They cannot give what they do not have.
Exactly. If we can sort this problem, they're going to be very gracious, but right now we've got to be careful. But I was wondering...
As you stood talking to Milo about this, you're just about to ask him a question. When you see a young-looking human female walk past the building, she stops, and at the corner of her eye, you see her like look at this thieves' camp tag on the side of the building, and then she walks past the building.
I'll keep an eye on it. I'm going to lean into Milo. Milo, you know, you keep telling me the land is sick, right?
Yeah.
Would you be able to tell if food was bad, if the food was sick?
Maybe.
Just can you stick your head in this shop? They're selling meat and other things. Can you just have a look at the food for us, see if it's, tainted? Could you do that?
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Okay. I'll
usher him in like he's my, child.
Okay.
On a day trip.
You two disappear inside the butcher's. You can see there's like a curtain at the back of it. You presume like the majority of it is kept beyond that, and you can hear like the sound of someone like moving about behind this curtain.
It's like a scene out of Oliver Twist.
Yeah, there's like a little counter. There's a few like haunches of meat hanging up on hooks in here.
Yeah, well, I mean, with Rufus being the guy who had all the children, the thieves, and sending one of the children.
He's going to lean down next to you in a minute and tell you you've got to pick a pocket or two, Milo.
Yeah.
Boy.
Okay, I will look around in this place and go over to some of the meat hanging. And unless it looks like green and it's dripping with goo, but if it otherwise looks like meat.
It looks like it's probably been hanging a bit long, but it looks okay.
Okay, he will smell it.
There is a slightly odd twang to the smell as you like sniff it experimentally.
Odd twang. I like that.
It's got an almost like sour sort of smell to it, almost like sour milk.
Yeah, like the back in gallon meat.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, he'll take out the small. Or he'll look if there's a knife on the table, and he'll use that to kind of carve into it slightly.
You hear a voice from behind the curtain go, "Somebody out there?"
Yeah, it's me. Hello.
Look, we're closed. Come back tomorrow.
Okay, hang on. I'm just gonna check if your meat is bad.
Look, that's none of your business. We're closed. Come back tomorrow.
He looks back at Rufus. I think he's sick.
Him too?
Milo goes over to the curtain and pulls it to the side and looks behind it.
You look behind it and you see this man with his sort of hands in his head in his hands. He's sort of hunched over. He's quite a well-muscled, quite sort of well-built guy. He's sort of crouched over this table, and as you watch, you can see that like the back of his jerkin is like ripped in several places, as though he's sort of like his jerkin's a size too small for him.
Okay. He takes a few steps back. Go get Clark now.
Okay.
Go get Clark.
Alright, Mallow, you stay safe.
We're closed.
I will
Come back
go
tomorrow.
and get.
And Milo will back out and into the shop behind the curtain, and go behind the desk if he suddenly comes charging out of the back room.
I will go find our giant barbarian friend.
Okay, well, my plan was to go find a bath because I was all covered in ichor and everything else.
So Rufus, I'm going to ask you to make me a dex roll to see whether you managed to catch Glog before he's off looking for a bath. Because obviously you've been doing all of this while Glog's just been able to wander off.
Has been doing his thing, yeah. So that's 7, Drum. No, 7. 6, 7, yeah. Let's go.
Okay. I'm going to say that Glog is sort of like, he's headed off a little bit, so he's not like in the immediate vicinity, but he's within sort of like shouting range if you wanted to shout him as you sort of step out the door.
I will shout him. Glag! You impressive piece of meat. Milo was asking after you. We were looking for food. He seems a bit distressed. You might want to come with me.
As you say that, stood in the doorway, Rufus, there is this from behind you, and as you turn round, you see this hideously muscled, green, tusked figure just wrench this curtain off its rail, stepping out, holding this like huge sort of cleaver. You know, like it when you have the paper cutters and they have the blade on them, like the old-fashioned ones. It's like
where are the 12 soldiers we were assigned?
They're all sort of stood outside with you, because as far as they're concerned, basically them guys went, we're nipping into the butchers. They didn't think, that needs an armed response unit.
All right, so
I assume
I'm
he's
going to
aware of
run
it.
towards it. Kill it to arms. Got my
Okay,
axe
the
in.
way I'm going to represent that is anyone who makes like an attack backed up by these soldiers, you'll get a +2 to like hack and slash style rolls, because the soldiers are driving after you guys and help you out. Okay, so this.
Yeah, I'll go racing at it.
Okay.
Milo is perfectly happy with Glog charging in first.
Okay, now as I described, Glog was a little bit away because Rufus hadn't managed to get out quickly enough. So basically, for the first round, it's going to be Milo and Rufus versus the giant berserker orc butcher.
Okay,
Then
so
Glog's
he
turn.
comes out
wait.
charging
Can
towards you.
I have an idea though. I have a move that allows me to try and force enemies to focus on me, and I can yell that. So can I at least try and do that?
Just make a roll for it.
Right, it's a con roll. I need 9 or better.
In which case, yeah, because you are within audible range as established, so you can certainly do that.
7. So maybe it doesn't hear me with the crowd, or
Okay,
I don't know if
so
that's
what I'm gonna
partial
say is-
success. I don't have the breakdown.
He does hear you, but he's basically going to take a swing at these guys on his way through to get to you. So shout out whatever you shout out, Glog.
Face me, monster! Ah!
And you sort of looking out the door, Rufus, as you sort of glance over your shoulder as this orc's barreling towards you, you see it look up, it sees Glog, and then you suddenly realise, shit, I'm in the doorway between it and Glog. What do you do, Rufus?
I get the hell out of the way.
Okay, that sounds like a defy danger roll to me, so roll plus dex.
Okay. Okay, I subconsciously added an extra d6 there. Let's go. God. It's for. I don't know. 6.
Yay, experience points!
You get an
Yay.
experience point.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I can't spend it if I'm dead.
You take 11 hit points of damage, Rufus.
God, does my armor count?
Yeah, of course it does, yeah.
So I'm only half dead. That's all right.
As this orc rushes forward, it literally just like slices you on the midriff with this like huge blade it's holding, throwing you out of the doorway as it ignores you, Milo, because you're like tucked in a corner. But Rufus is like in its way, and it wants at Glog as it just like slices you across the midriff. You guys see Rufus like get thrown out of the doorway, blood spraying out of his side as this like orc's barreling towards you, Glog.
I can't leave them alone for 5 minutes.
Durkhead, you've seen all this
just wanted
occurring.
some
What are you doing, Durkhead?
Yes, okay. So I'm going to try and use cause fear on this massive new orc that I know to be the butcher.
Okay, make your roll.
We can calm down a bit.
Calm down.
Calm down. Okay. Oh, I got a 9. But I still have to choose one of the following. Let's see. That's quite tricky. Okay, I'll take this choice. So my casting distances me from my deity. Take -1 ongoing to cast a spell until the next time I commune.
Okay, no problem. And what effect does your spell have? Describe how it works.
Okay, so the target is afraid of the object so long as I maintain the spell. Choose target you can see and a nearby object. Okay, so I look around for some of the meat in the room, preferably something with a head that kind of sort of thing. So I choose that, and hopefully it'll be terrified of that.
Okay, as this orc's barreling towards you, Glog, it suddenly looks to the right where there's like a pig's head sort of hanging on the outside of the building. It lets out this high-pitched, like gurgling shriek, and suddenly that screeches to a halt, and sort of starts running in the other direction towards the outskirts of the town. Just
Well, I'm
its
like
cleaver and it's
doing one of these, right? I'm gonna
yeah,
try and you know what I
not a
mean.
problem. It's dropped its weapon.
So-
It's just trying to run now.
Perfect. So I see that as a very bad tactical move on his
Indeed.
part. I'm just saying that's Clark's thinking. So yeah, I'm rushing at it.
Okay, make your hack and slash. The soldiers run in to help you out. So don't get your
Oh
own plus
yeah. So 11.
two. Okay, roll your.
Oh, well, it's 13 really.
So you get to roll your damage. You can also add I'm going to say you can add +6 and another 2 without taking any damage yourself because it's running. It's not in a position to
Right.
actually fight back, and also you get the +2 additional because of the soldier.
Oh, there it is. So 3 plus 2 plus 2, 7. 7 damage.
Okay, this thing's...
And if it keeps running, I'm going to keep chasing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still running as long as the spell is maintained. So I'm quite willing to say that over the course of like a few rounds, you and the soldiers like surround it and like hack it to pieces, basically, if that's your intent.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, so as this thing's like panicking and it's trying to scramble away, the soldiers with their spears and Glarg with his huge axe surround it and they're like... There's like green blood spraying everywhere. A few people who are nearby are like...
This is where the orcs are coming from. This is what's happening.
You heard one of the people go, by the gods, it must be necromancy.
Milo goes over to help Rufus up.
Okay, you start
The-
helping
the
Rufus,
food
and he
is
looks like
bad.
he's in quite a lot of pain.
Oh yeah, yeah,
The food is bad, Rufus.
yeah, Milo. I know now.
I'd like to walk over to them and say, your attempt was admirable, Rufus, but let me go in first next time. Milo, you were right to call me.
You have my complete agreement, Plug. If I'd have known that was there, I would not have gone in. And I start coughing up a little bit. Oh God, why am I asking this? John, this condition isn't contagious, is it?
Wow, you were sliced quite badly by this thing.
Why do I do this to myself?
Why do you make me a con roll?
Why do I do this to
This
myself?
is his chance. He has dreamt of playing an orc for so long.
8. Is 8 good enough not to be infected by magical orc transformation?
Okay.
Maybe they're just druids.
I'm
Maybe
gonna
they're just
say
druids.
that as you look down, your vision swims a little as you look down as Milo's helping you up. And as you look down, you can see this huge wound on your side. You can see a large amount of like the orc's blood has splattered into this wound. Your sight appears to swim for a few moments, and you swoon into a faint. So Milo, as you're sort of helping Rufus up, he's like, yeah, I get that, Milo, and then his eyes sort of go unfocused, and he just like falls back on his back unconscious.
Now, if Clark assumed that I was about to turn into an orc, what would happen?
I think we all know what had happened.
Okay, Milo will check his wounds to see if that's what's doing it. If they're that bad that he's bleeding out or something.
Okay, as you're sort of checking his wounds, can you make me a wisdom roll, please, Milo?
Yep. 9.
You too have contracted it.
As you're sort of checking his wounds, and you see that he's not actually unconscious as you originally thought. His eyes are still open, although they're unfocused. Now you've obviously had visions yourself. You know that Dirk here can do the whole like talking to the flame thing. You think that somehow like Rufus's spirit is like elsewhere for the moment. It's like the lights are on, but no one's home at the moment. Although you don't get any feeling of like inherent sickness of him.
Okay, Milo will take up his cloak and fold it into a little pillow and put under Rufus' head and sit next to him.
Okay, you can feel, being in tune with the natural energies as you are, you can feel like the flow of natural energies through him has been like disrupted somehow, and you think that's probably what's causing this. The orc blood in the wound might have been a catalyst. You're not entirely sure. But as it's natural energies, you know, it's something that potentially you could tap into.
Okay, Well, he shared blood with Durkin at one point,
Indeed.
so he
He
will
did.
take out. But that's one of my bonds. I had to choose.
Mm.
So he will take out the knife that he got from Rufus, and slit his hand, and presses down on Rufus' mouth, making the blood drip into his mouth.
Okay, Rufus, you're stood on the cobbled streets of a mighty city. It's majestic. It's like nothing you've ever seen before. The buildings are tall and fluted. They rise many hundreds of feet up into the air. You can see what appears to be a race of strange beings, tall of limb, slightly pointed ears, very ethereal and beautiful looking, bustling through the streets of this huge metropolis.
I'll look at my own hands for a second just to like confirm I'm actually there.
You look at your own hands, and your hands seem as you expect your hands to see. Then, as you feel like a slightly metallic taste in your mouth, and as you look down next to you, you realise that Milo stood next to you.
Milo? Where are we? We were in Pondmount. Where's this? This place is huge. This is like something out of a dream.
As you drip your blood into his mouth and you sort of tap into the natural energies, you likewise find yourself stood on the cobbled streets of this huge and alien-looking metropolis. Rufus looks down at you.
Does it look vibrant and like healthy and
it does,
lush?
It's possibly one of the most beautiful cities you've ever seen. The buildings are made of glass and strange coloured mosaics like nothing you've ever seen before.
Am I dead?
No.
And
I think something happened that makes you like there's a connection between the places, the land, and other places in the land.
so is this like a druid sea? Have you taken me somewhere?
As the two of you are looking around, can you both please make me discern reality checks?
This plus whiz.
Whiz.
Boom. 12. Milo knows everything.
6. Do I get XP for 6? I do, don't I?
You do, yeah. So
I'm learning a lot of XP today.
You're just so like shell shocked, Rufus. You're not really sure what's going on. You're like, what are these buildings? What is this strange place I'm in? What is this human thing you call love? That sort of thing. Whereas Milo, you're sort of taking in your surroundings more and trying to like map it to what you know of like known topography and terrain. And as you look to the west, you can see this huge range of mountains beyond this fantastic city rising, and you recognise it as the World Spine Mountains. You must be on the east of the mountain range, in the Orklands.
In Orklands. Oh. I think we traveled to far beyond the Orklands and into the ancient city that you told about. I think we're at the where it all started, where it all.
But how?
As you're discussing this, you hear like marching feet behind you, and as you look down the street behind you, you see this unit of these beautiful ethereal elven figures, all wearing this shining armor, holding spears, wearing fluted helmets, marching down the street towards you. They stop as they reach you. One of them turns to look at you, Rufus, and says, "Sir, we've got to reach the temple and stop them before it's too late."
Stop who?
The priests, sir.
What priests? Rufus is so confused right now.
He looks like you've gone mental, and he's like, "You were right, sir. You told us they were tampering in things that we should not meddle with, and now they've brought disaster on us all."
I mean, that does sound something like I would say, but what is my name?
Sir, is this some kind of test?
He's going Heisenberg on them. Say my name.
Say my name.
Rufus will help Sorry, Milo will help Rufus up. he hit his head. He's okay now,
Look,
and he kind of.
Captain, we don't have time for a discussion. They've already started the ceremony at the temple. We've got to get there and stop them before it's too late.
Well. Okay, then we better go stop them then, Mile. To the temple.
The elfin figure turns back to the rest of his soldiers and says, "You heard Captain Ithane. To the temple, men."
Do I recognise these creatures? Again, like the first time I see an orc, this is the first time I see presumably an elf.
They look like the legends you've heard about elves, but that's all there are, legends. As far as everyone's aware,
Legends.
elves died out thousands of years ago.
Milo, I whispered to Milo, did you give me those mushrooms I warned you about? I feel sadly disquieted.
No.
The soldiers start running past you, running down the street towards what appears to be a large spired building in the distance. You can hear the clattering of their armoured feet as they're running. They don't wait to see if you're following. They're just like... What do you do?
Can we follow them, I guess? He's well confused. This place, I've never seen a place like it.
You run after them. As you get towards this central temple, you assume, you can see that there's this glowing green light shining out through the stained glass windows and through the door. The elf who spoke to you goes, "But by the stars, we're too late." At which point he turns around and he starts to shout, "Everybody, get down!" And then it's broken up by this wave of green energy that just explodes outwards from the building in all directions. Think of the start bit of Terminator where you see the person crouch down and there's the nuclear wind and everyone gets burnt to a skeleton.
At the playground.
Indeed, as this blaze of green energy washes over you and you feel tremendous pain. Then you both snap to yourselves and once again you're both crouched on the floor in front of this butcher's. Back in
Milo will be covering his hand.
Yeah, so as far as you're concerned, Glarg and Dirk, you've seen Milo run over to Rufus. He sort of bent down and then he's cut his hand, dripped some blood into his mouth. His face went glazed over as well. Then Milo suddenly goes, "Ah!" It's only a few seconds and ducks down and throws his hands up over his head.
Rufus, he sort of screams and bags his head off the floor. Then the pain of his wounds comes back to him, so he sort of curls up into a fetal ball. What just happened to me? What the hell did you do?
Are you okay? Are you yourself? Tell me.
I don't have any intent to cause harm, if that's what you're saying, Glag. I don't feel aggressive.
Fine.
Milo,
before we go. He hasn't had a chance to commune yet.
Could someone get me some water?
Don't go inside anywhere else.
Just wanted some food.
Is it over? Is it so?
Was that another one of those things? I barely got a look of it. It just threw me aside like a bale of twigs. How do you stand in front of those things, Glag?
Because I should. What else is to be done?
We know what happened. We saw it in a vision.
You know what happened?
Yeah, we saw
What
it in a
happened to
vision.
what? What happened to the land?
You saw it too?
So
you saw the city? That was you? You were actually there?
In a spiritual way, yes.
What, like a philosophical way? Like it was a dream?
My spirit was there with your spirit.
Now, Milo, you would know
What did you see?
Given that you know, before you answer, Milo, I'll tell you that given that you know that the elves supposedly died out thousands of years ago, if you were seeing elves, your vision must have been of something like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago.
Yeah. We saw the past, Clark. What happened? This crystal city of the elves. Remember the elves?
Yes.
And they did something causing all this taint, this blight.
How does
of
that
the
help
human.
us?
I think we need to go into the Orklands. We need to cross the Willspire Mountains.
Why?
That's where the city is, or was, or is. I don't know. Maybe it's both.
An elven city from long ago is in the lands that are now the Orklands, and you think we must go there to cure
Yes.
this blight?
Yes.
Very well. After my bath.
I need a drink.
And as Glog says, very well, after my bath. And as Rufus goes, I need a drink. That is where we fade out and we bring this session to a close.
Goddamn elves and their goddamn
Thank you very much
cataclysms.
for playing, guys. Obviously, we're going to do XP and the like now.
I have so much XP.
Okay, so end of the session.
XP.
I'm going to go through you all one at a time and ask if you feel that you've resolved any of your bonds. So, Dennis.
Let's have a look at my bonds.
I think I have. So this is my first time with this system, so tell me if I'm wrong. But I had a bond that says, Milo is small and puny, but is amusing to me. Now, he still seems small to me, but no longer amusing. He's proven himself to be very competent in several ways. Brave in battle, good at talking to people, good at wrangling money or supplies when we need it. So I no longer consider him amusing, but actually very useful and a good companion to have along.
Would you agree that that's been resolved, Dennis?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I would say.
you gain an XP for that, and you can cross off that bond, and you basically make yourself up like a new bond to replace it.
Okay, so I have an idea on that too, but I don't know if this is within the rules. So when I was fighting this specter, I wasn't able to hurt it in any way that I knew how. So I'd like my bond to somehow reflect that I now have an additional goal of seeking out something that can harm such creatures. I need a way to fight them.
Okay, now that's fine, but you need to somehow link that into one of the other player characters.
Okay, so I've seen what Dirkia. I've seen he display magic that can hold these off. So I want to seek a weapon of that same kind of magic.
Of your own, God, maybe.
Dirkia using.
Okay,
Well, yeah, of course.
So
I was gonna
phrase
say.
that in a way as it relates to like you potentially having like more of a sort of relationship.
I need a weapon that can do what Dirkia's magic did to
perhaps
specters.
something like Dirkia can teach me to wield fate as a weapon or something like that.
No, I don't think my pride's going to allow that.
I'm just.
I don't want to learn that magic. Yeah, I don't want to learn that magic. I want to find a weapon that mimics it.
Oh, I need to find a weapon that matches Kavesh's fire of Dirka's, you know.
Yeah, but I'm going to word that as Dirkia's because it doesn't come from Kavesh.
That's
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
fine.
Everyone knows
Yeah,
that.
indirectly, like
Okay.
it is there.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fine. Does anyone else feel they've completed a bond?
Can I change my bond, or do I have to complete it first? Because I feel like me and Milo's just had like a druidic magical dream moment.
You can add yourself an extra bond.
I feel like I should. That's definitely a moment for Rufus. He's never gone to a magical city and had a halfling turn up with him, and we have like a little wander.
I love the fact, like, I imagine, like, you're in the city and like, oh my god, this is amazing, and like Milo appears and he's just like, all right.
Can I be like me? Rufus and Milo Thistle have seen secrets of the ancient elves.
Don't forget, you need to think about a condition that can be used to resolve this.
Okay.
So obviously, just sort of saying, oh, we've seen this. You can't
Oh,
really
so
resolve
maybe we were like, me and Milo Thistle have seen the secret of the elves, and we wish to uncover their their demise.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Consider yourself extra bonded, Milo.
Okay.
You bond.
I feel that Milo might have resolved Rufus smells more like prey than a hunter.
Look, I got knocked over. I didn't die. Doesn't mean I'm prey. I might have
That's
got
why I say
infected.
it's resolved.
Because he has shown himself to be in the thick of it every time. He might not have Clark's immense physical presence, but he's there.
Would you agree that that's been resolved?
Yes.
Okay,
That's
so
the
you
best I'm going to get. He's there.
You can have an
He's-
XP.
he's
You need
present.
to make yourself a new bond. Milo.
I'm not sure what I can replace it with just yet, John. Can I think about
Yeah,
that?
you can certainly have time to think about that. That's not a problem. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to ask each of you whether you think, in turn, whether you think you've met the criteria of your alignment, which is listed on your character sheet. So, Dennis.
Mine is defeat and unnatural minutes.
Yeah, I think given the amount of orcs you guys have dealt with, we can consider that done.
Yeah.
You can have an XP for that.
Thank you.
Matthew, what does your alignment say for your XP gaining bit?
Neutral, avoid detection, or infiltrate a location.
I would say you can have
Would
that
you
since
consider-
you avoided detection at the cave.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's fine. How about yourself, Rob?
Yes, I at least chased one enemy before me. So
Yeah, that's fine. How about yourself, Jay?
Yeah, I think so. With chaotic, using your god as a guideline to follow, but still carve out your own path. In terms of choosing not to confess about the death of Henrietta.
Yeah, that's absolutely fine. Have yourself an XP for that. Okay, now we get to the group
Lovely,
bits.
lovely.
So I think there's some of them that are quite obvious. I'm just going to shout out the questions. If you feel yes, obviously say so. Did you learn something new and important about the world?
Yes.
Yes.
yes,
Okay, you can all have an XP. Did you overcome a notable monster or enemy? Yes, so you can all have an XP for that.
Yes.
Did you loot a memorable treasure?
No.
Okay.
Well, I guess we looted the necklace, but we gave it away.
Yeah, apart from that.
No, that's fine.
Not
Because
really.
you did loot it. It doesn't say that you kept the memorable treasure. You looted it. So you can all have an XP.
We also saved a baby, which I consider would be a treasure.
Oh my god, so much XP.
Okay.
That was 3 total there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
For those last.
Since you guys have effectively had a couple of chances to rest, if you wish, anyone who has an amount of XP equal to their current level plus 7, you can level up.
Okay, I have that.
Oh yes.
I'm going to level.
So we get a move and a +1 to a stat,
Yeah,
not
you're
the
one of your
bonus,
stats
but
by 1, maximum 18, and you get to pick a new
Okay.
advanced move. Don't forget to cross off the XP you've spent.
okay.
Okay. Uh-huh.
I will raise Milo's charisma because he has learned a little more about human race, if that's okay.
I think that's fine.
Hmm.
I'm going for strength again because if a single orc is that strong, I gotta.
Again, makes sense. No problems with that.
So it was 7 plus your level, wasn't it?
That's right.
Plus the level you are now.
Yes, and then
Yeah.
you subtract.
Oh.
Yeah,
You subtract all of it, all that, like
Okay.
that total, that sum.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just having a silly moment. Okay.
That's awesome. I'm up to level 4.
Uh-huh. So it's minus that much. Right, okay.
Okay.
So I am level 3.
Me too.
Okay, well,
Is
as
it-
always, guys,
Oh, yeah.
I'm quite happy to chat for a bit
Yep.
after now we've dealt with XP and everything, but I'm going to end the broadcast.